A man crosses over to another world and spends 300 years finally unifying the continent. But just as he slays the final demon king, a portal connecting to Earth suddenly appears. To the hunters on Earth, this is just a powerful dungeon, but they never expected there would be a living person inside the dungeon, and he has slaughtered every single monster in the entire dungeon. Originally, when this portal appeared on Earth, no team dared to enter, because the portal's color is black. Entering it is no different from a death sentence. Eventually, Nation A's Hunter Association is ordered to go in as an advanced team to investigate. Later, inside the dungeon, they witness me killing the Demon King with a single strike. Han Shari, acting as the Hunter Association's representative, comes out and recounts everything that happened inside, but the others don't believe a word she says. Kim Jin-soo, the section chief, comes over to comfort her, saying it's normal that others don't believe her. After all, that's a black-grade demon portal with even a Demon King inside. Without support from other guilds, coming back alive is already a miracle, let alone completely clearing it. At this moment, they find me some clothes and bring me to an interrogation room. Kim Jin-soo sits down, looks into the room and asks, "This is the survivor, right?" Sometimes survivors are indeed encountered in portals. The portals appearing around the world all have one thing in common. The worlds inside have either already perished or are in the process of perishing, and there's an extremely small chance that survivors will come to Earth through the portals. After these people come out, they still retain their superhuman strength. So the government provides maximum convenience for these individuals, the reason being to recruit these powerful beings. Right now, Han Shari and Kim Jin-soo are thinking about getting me to join their association. Normally, an A-rank hunter already has to risk their life when facing high-level demons. This Demon King-level monster is something even S-rank hunters wouldn't dare fight casually. But they witnessed with their own eyes that I not only killed it, but with absolutely overwhelming power. However, Kim Jin-soo's biggest concern now is the cultural difference. Since coming out, I've been referring to myself as this king, so he figures I must be royalty. Han Shari, who believes beauty equals justice, thinks I must be easy to communicate with. But just as her words fall, she hears me shout, "How dare you!" The powerful aura I release directly shatters all the glass in the interrogation room. Seeing this, the two people outside are both shocked, knowing this is specially reinforced glass that can withstand attacks from high-level monsters. On this side, I stand up and angrily question how the person before me dares to defile the glorious name of Leonhardt. That person stands up and frantically apologizes to me. Kim Jin-soo asks Han Shari, "Didn't you say he was easy to communicate with?" Hearing this, Han Shari awkwardly suggests it might be cultural differences. Going back 15 minutes when I was just brought here. Returning to Earth again, I feel everything around me is so unfamiliar. But that makes sense, since in my previous life I was just an orphan who died from overwork, not even living to 30. After that, I was reborn in another world and served as both knight and king for over 100 years. Later, due to demons invading the world, I fought them for over 200 years. So I've been away from this world for over 300 years. The bald man sees I'm not speaking and breaks the silence first, asking if I'm Mr. Leonhardt. After thinking it over, I decide it's better not to reveal my identity as a former Earthling, because one option is a 300-year-old Night King from another world. The other is a young man who didn't live to 30 and died from part-time work. The former identity is clearly more advantageous, so I seriously tell the bald man to address me as His Imperial Majesty. Hearing this, the bald man quickly changes how he addresses me. Seeing this, I think to myself that even if I'm being unreasonable, they'll still comply obediently. However, this makes me wonder whether this bald man naturally has a good temper, or if the government has ordered them to treat survivors carefully. The bald man then asks if in my world, I killed all the demons and then encountered their hunters, right? I answer that's correct. Then I add that this king eradicated the demons and defended the honor of knights. Now this king will appoint you as temporary recorder, granting you the honor of documenting this glorious deed. Hearing this, the bald man doesn't dare say anything and can only agree. Then I ask, don't you have etiquette for entertaining distinguished guests here? The bald man probably catches that I'm saying I'm hungry, so he quickly picks up his phone to arrange a meal for me. To find out what happened on Earth during my absence, I have the bald man tell me everything about this world. Hearing this, the bald man says that 30 years ago, disaster suddenly befell Earth. Portals to other worlds appeared all over the globe. Monsters and demons kept pouring out from inside. Only after humanity paid a huge price did they understand that each portal has its corresponding theme and clearing mission. If left unattended, the dungeon will break, causing monsters to invade Earth. Just as he finishes speaking, there's a knock at the door. The bald man thinks the food has arrived and gets up to open it. After hearing what he said, I begin to ponder. In my previous world, the demons' attacks were endless, but here, each portal has a theme and mission, as if it's a trial set by some powerful being to help them grow gradually. After a moment, the bald man brings in the food and tells me to eat. When I see the food on the table, I freeze for a moment. It's actually braised chicken rice, so fragrant it could make your soul leave your body. This used to be my soul food. Now it's in front of me again, so tempting, but I still swallow and suppress the urge. Instead, I ask the bald man darkly what this is. He says it's a common food that people on Earth eat. Hearing this, I suddenly stand up. I pound my fist on the table while shouting, "How dare you, insolent commoner! You dare to defile the glorious Leonhardt! How can you serve me, an emperor, with commoners' food? Is this how your country treats foreign royalty? You must know I am royalty born in another world. I am the agent of the gods, the guardian of the Holy Grail, the master of the Holy Sword and Holy Spear. I am the nemesis of evil forces. I am the one who annihilated Malice, Lord of Chaos. I am the Night King who slayed 23 Demon King-level monsters and countless high-level demons. I alone represent 300 years of war history in another world." Afterwards, they quickly serve me me a steak. Only then does my anger subside. Seeing that I've calmed down, Kim Jin-soo has Hanshari go to recruit me. Hanshari says with difficulty that she doesn't know how to speak in an archaic tone. In the end, with no other choice, she timidly opens the door and calls me Your Majesty, saying she has something to report. I wipe my mouth and let her come in. Seeing that I don't kick her out, she's very happy. She secretly gives a thumbs up to the surveillance camera. After sitting down, she asks if the food here suits my taste. I say this time it's acceptable. Earlier, I reprimanded you not because the food was cheap, but because your attitude toward a king was problematic. Hanshari says they have limited knowledge and have been offensive, then introduces herself as Hanshari. I say I've already heard about your world from that bald man. I heard that demons also appear here. Hanshari first says that's correct. Then she nervously asks if I would allow Nation A to take full responsibility for everything concerning me from now on. Hanshari's mission in coming here has only one goal: to do whatever it takes to recruit me to the Hunter Association, or at least get me to settle in Nation A. In the current situation, the core of the intelligence war is recruiting powerful survivors. Each of them possesses incredibly powerful strength, so nations won't allow such prized assets to slip away. After hearing her words, I say, since I've come to settle in this world, I have a duty to go to the battlefield and slay enemies. Hearing this, Shari excitedly asks if I can join their Hunter Association. Hearing this, I become serious again. As the ruler of a nation, how can I become a soldier of another empire? This king will establish his own new night order in this world. Hearing this, Shari's mind goes completely blank, and in the end, she can only reluctantly agree for now. After coming out, she asks what the people above say. Kim Jin-soo says the directive from above is to support me as much as possible and definitely not let me go to other countries or large guilds. This infuriates Hanshari. Now she not only has to fight in dungeons, but also do work where she has to watch others' expressions. Suddenly, a piercing alarm sounds around them. Taking out her phone, she sees an emergency notification saying a dungeon break has occurred at the Southern Plains portal. Seeing this message, Kim Jin-soo immediately breaks out in a cold sweat, because that place is the breadbasket region. If monsters invade, it will paralyze food production. Hanshari says, isn't that place in the Firebird Guild's territory? And they have an S-rank hunter, Lee Young-man. They can't possibly fail to clear even one portal. Kim Jin-soo thinks those guys must be up to something, and they need to stop them quickly. Their conversation is heard clearly by me behind the door. It seems they're in trouble now. They're saying that once a dungeon breaks, the land becomes polluted and crops stop growing. Thinking this, I slowly raise my palm. Seeing the golden light emanating from my palm, I silently ask in my heart, are you well? My words are like a shining meteor, falling before a massive, majestic white temple. A young woman in green robes sees this meteor and smiles faintly. The scene shifts to the portal at the Southern Plains. Kim Jin-soo arrives and asks what they're doing. Standing opposite is Lee Young-man, the president of Firebird Guild. Seeing the association people arrive, he remains unmoved. Seeing this, Kim Jin-soo confirms that they deliberately caused the dungeon break because the association wouldn't agree to their demands. Firebird Guild has been demanding the association give them tax exemptions on the income generated from their portals this year, because they harvest large amounts of magic crystals and monster materials each time, bringing them substantial income while also meaning more taxes to pay. So they demanded their tax burden be reduced to 1 trillion won. But as a large guild, the government has already provided them considerable benefits. Hanshari steps forward and tells Lee Young-man to close the portal immediately. It's already been a week as of today, Lee Young-man says carelessly, that he knows if it exceeds a week, he'll have to hand over the rights to clear the portal. Then he adds that many of their members are injured now. We'll try to hold out until tomorrow, but what happens then is hard to say. Hearing this, Hanshari angrily asks him, don't you know what consequences there will be if this place gets polluted? But Lee Young-man just chuckles, saying that's not his concern. He also says Hanshari is really naive. In this world, only money and power are justice. Just then I walk over, saying they're really a shallow bunch. Shari turns around and seeing it's me, unconsciously calls out my name. I tell her not to speak this king's name directly. Call me Your Majesty. Lee Young-man sees I look like a foreigner and asks who I am. I don't answer him, just tell him to shut his mouth. Then I look at him with a cold gaze, saying, how can a mere lowly being run his insolent mouth like this? This infuriates Lee Young-man. After all, he's one of only 20 S-rank hunters and the president of one of the 10 major guilds. Hearing me insult him like this, he immediately starts gathering magic in his palm. Only after Hanshari says I'm a survivor does he freeze in place. Then he immediately changes his previous attitude, bows to me, and introduces himself. When he's about to ask if I'm the survivor from the Black Grade portal, I interrupt him. I turn and ask Kim Jin-soo what problem they've encountered. This king knows little about portals, so explain it in simple terms. Seeing that I'm prepared to help, the two are overjoyed. Shari says, once a dungeon breaks, it releases large amounts of demonic energy that pollutes the land. Once land is polluted, plants will never grow there again. The Southern Plains beneath our feet is the most important food production area, so once it's polluted, the nation's food supply will be severely impacted. Hearing this, I ask her how to resolve and prevent this. Shari tells me the dungeon must be cleared as soon as possible and completely destroyed. After listening, I say I understand. Gather your people. The moment that guild's rights expire tomorrow, this king will personally take action. But before that, as a foreign king, I cannot conduct military operations on another nation's territory without permission. Therefore, I must first obtain permission from this nation's emperor. Shari, standing nearby, tells me it's actually not that complicated. I say everything must follow proper procedures. If we don't respect the nation's authoritative laws, how can I be called an honorable knight? Quickly send a messenger to inform your emperor. Lee Young-man across from me is stunned. He never expected I could bluff even better than him. However, I eventually contact the president. In the evening, Shari says everything I requested requested is ready. She asks puzzled what I need these things for. I say, didn't you say the land is polluted? So I'm going to help you purify that polluted land. She asks again if I'm really going to rely on these straw dolls. Then she brings me to a greenhouse where the dolls are being made. According to my requirements, they found many women with childbirth experience to make the dolls. After entering, I have them come forward one by one with their dolls for my inspection. When I see the first one, I'm deeply disappointed. This is absolutely unacceptable. Can such an abstract, ugly thing even be called a doll? As I speak, I channel power through my palm and blast it to pieces. Next, I eliminate another doll that reminds me of an old acquaintance. Hanshari also presents the doll she made. However, I throw it away without even looking and scold her. You really are a fool. Didn't I already say women with childbirth experience? Like this, I eliminate dozens of dolls in a row, until a very serene-looking elderly woman walks up to me. Looking at the doll in her hands, I can't help but praise, "This is absolutely perfect." Then I excitedly crouch down and ask how many children she's given birth to. The elderly woman says she's already given birth to 19. I say, "You truly are the fountain of life, a genuine patriot. In the past, I would certainly have knights personally present you with medals and gifts, but the current situation doesn't allow it. Please forgive me." Afterwards, I take the doll to the field and place it on a table. Under the puzzled gazes of others, I slowly raise my right hand. From a blue energy vortex, I pull out a holy grail. I begin chanting an incantation, "O bountiful Mother Earth, the children of this land offer you the harvest doll. Please manifest yourself." Seeing this, Lee young man can't help but curiously walk forward to watch. After I finish the incantation, the holy grail glows with golden light. Then clean water appears out of nowhere in the cup. As the water inside increases, it soon overflows from the cup. Then the water, as if alive, begins flowing toward the doll on the table. This scene directly stuns everyone around. After all the water flows into the doll's body, the doll miraculously stands up and says, "Leonhardt, my child, it's been so long." To this I bow and say, "Greetings, Mother Earth, Demera, goddess of life and abundance." Demera senses her surroundings and says, "So this new land is also suffering attacks from evil forces, and it seems some of the land has already been polluted." I say, "That's correct. Demons are causing trouble here as well. But unlike our world, there is no divine presence here. The people here have no faith. I fear certain lowly, vulgar individuals might offend your eyes." Demera says, "Ignorance and greed are not sins. For mortals with limited lifespans, this is quite normal." She asks me what I plan to do in the future, although I think it's pathetic how those weaklings are held hostage by those wielding swords. The right to rule is sacred, so I will make rights and duties advance together on this land. I will guide the ignorant toward the correct path until a new pantheon is built on this land. Hearing this, Demera shows a faint smile and asks if I need her help. The people of this land are being tormented by an evil thing called demonic energy. Though this is not your desire, please heal and purify this land. Demera extends her arm, saying they have long been prepared. Then a massive phantom appears above my head. "You are my high priest, the finest among us. The earth of this world is not my body. I shall spread my divine power, replacing this parched earth with my own being. Then all existence on this land shall become your ally." As Demera's words fall, the water droplet on her hand falls onto the soil. Then, under everyone's astonished gazes, all the crops on the earth regain their former vitality. They're even more fertile than before. But this makes Lee young man unhappy. He shouts for everyone not to be deceived by me. "Crops ripened by magic are poisonous." I turn back and say, "These were personally blessed by the divine, and you dare say they're poisonous?" He says again that my straw doll clearly used some kind of witchcraft. Hearing this, I say coldly, "I advise you not to defile the goddess with your foul mouth." Lee young man is also suppressed by my powerful aura and doesn't dare continue objecting, but he thinks to himself that he can't let his grand plan be ruined by one survivor. As long as traces of magic appear, he can insist I'm a fraud. So using the food safety of the nation as a reason, he wants to have it appraised, and says he'll provide the appraiser. This appraiser steps forward and begins using appraisal skills on the crops on the ground. But when he finishes the appraisal, he's completely stunned, because every single rice grain here is rare grade. They can even cure grade 3 diseases. Without a word, Kim Jin-soo has Shari go borrow a pot from the village chief's house. He's going to make a fire and cook on the spot. When he eats the rice, he immediately falls into an incredulous daze, because this rice is basically a continuous enhancement potion. This rice is actually equivalent to a 3,000,001 enhancement potion. Shari runs over saying this stuff is amazing. Kim Jin-soo, hearing her speak unclearly, tells her to swallow first. Shari obediently swallows what's in her mouth. Then she says she was a bit curious and ate a bug from the field and she got a buff. This, if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would ever believe. Kim Jin-soo doesn't dare imagine how terrifying it would be if the blessing covered the entire land. Then he quickly orders the clearing team members to go catch and eat bugs, stack full buffs before entering the portal. After they all stack full buffs, we prepare to enter the dungeon before us. However, Lee young man, who is planning to use this dungeon to threaten the association, is not happy. Originally, only their guild had the strength to clear this dungeon, but now I've suddenly appeared, disrupting his planned strategy. Suddenly he thinks of something. He realizes that among this group, Hanshari is the only A-rank hunter, and judging from my earlier actions of summoning a deity and bestowing blessings, he figures I'm just a support type with no combat ability. So he feels there's a very high chance we'll all die in there. Because when he entered the dungeon to investigate earlier, he discovered there was a monster inside that absolutely cannot be defeated by ordinary methods. At this time, under their guidance, I also enter the dungeon. According to Hanshari's explanation, most portals require completing tasks or eliminating the boss to close. I love this kind of fair one-on-one duel with a boss. After hearing this, Hanshari is too embarrassed to tell me it's usually a group beatdown. Then she tells me that in most dungeons, the monsters decrease as you kill them. But if you encounter special cases like skeletons, zombies, or demons, then you must kill the boss monster to stop the small monsters from endlessly respawning. As soon as she finishes speaking, she receives a system notification. It says all life forms inside the portal have entered a countdown. The Death Knight Dullahan must be killed within 3 hours. The next second, everyone's hearts beat violently. Kim Jin-soo at the front curses Lee Youngman as a bastard for not telling them this dungeon has this kind of thing. As the countdown begins, Dullahan also appears on the hill ahead of us. Below, skeleton warriors continuously emerge and walk toward us. Seeing this, Kim Jin-soo immediately orders everyone to use all their potions. Then he looks back and sees there are 30 archers and 2 mages in the team, so he immediately orders those with ranged skills to handle the enemy mages. Then he leads the warriors to hold the front line. Just as the formation is set up, the skeletons have already rushed to the front. Kim Jin-soo bears the brunt, directly raising his shield to meet them. When it collides with the opponent's longsword, he feels this is more terrifying than imagined, because he feels his shield just bore several hundred pounds of pressure. However, as a B-rank tank, he can still withstand it. After deflecting the opponent with his shield, he directly swings the hammer in his right hand, smashing that skeleton to pieces. But immediately, he senses a wave of demonic energy from behind. When he turns around, he discovers the mages in the skeleton army have already formed their magic circle. To protect the back line, he shouts at those mages to draw their attention. The mages are actually somewhat angered by his shouting. They immediately summon a laser beam from the magic circle. In just the blink of an eye, it strikes where Kim Jin-soo is standing. Kim Jin-soo takes this hit and hasn't even had time to catch his breath when Dullahan has already ridden his warhorse right up to him. Seeing the opponent swing his greatsword at him, he quickly raises his shield to block again. He never expected this boss's strength to be so overwhelming. A casual strike sends Kim Jin-soo flying over 10 meters. He only stops after crashing into the stone wall behind him. Seeing this, Hanshari's heart immediately jumps to her throat. A team member behind asks Hanshari if the reserve team should go help now. The reserve team exists to prevent exactly this kind of emergency situation. However, she turns to look at me, thinking that I, the man who calls himself the Lionheart King, can kill even Archfiend level monsters with a single strike, so she asks me to step in and help them. Hearing this, I first fall silent for a moment, then I say disdainfully, as the king of a nation, how can I lead the charge in such a trivial skirmish? Hearing this, Hanshari is directly stunned. Then I add, if I were to personally lead the army for these disgusting skeleton frames, it would be disrespectful to the goddess. The girl behind quietly asks Hanshari what to do now. Hanshari sees that I seem to have no interest in anything other than Dullahan. Seeing I don't intend to act, she knows there's no time to hesitate. So she draws her sword and steps forward, saying she'll face Dullahan alone while the others support Kim Jin-soo at the front. With that, she dashes forward. She charges straight toward Dullahan in the center of the skeleton army. As she gets close, she steps on a skeleton's head and leaps. She flips directly to the space right above Dullahan's head. Then she twists her body, grasps her longsword with both hands, channels her strength, and strikes down forcefully at Dullahan's back. However, it's blocked by his greatsword. Seeing her attack blocked, she prepares to think of other ways to separate Dullahan from his troops. But before she can finish thinking, that guy's head appears right in front of her. This leaves Hanshari completely stunned. Generally speaking, the head is often an individual's most vulnerable spot. She never expected Dullahan would use his head to block her vision. She can't help but sigh that the undead's fighting style is truly unique. When she sees his clenched fist, she knows she can't dodge and can only raise her sword with both hands to block. The next second, Dullahan swings his fist down and hammers her to the ground. She retreats several steps before stabilizing herself. Just as she looks up again, she sees Dullahan has already charged over with his greatsword. However, this is exactly her goal. Because her skill's range is too large, if released in the crowd, friendly forces would also be affected. So after drawing Dullahan to the side, she can safely release her skill. She also takes advantage of Dullahan blocking the surrounding flames to quickly move forward. She gathers all the magic power around her body into the longsword in her hands. The next second, the blade in her hand thrusts fiercely toward him with the force of thunder. But it's still blocked. Hanshari never expected that in this situation, Dullahan could still be distracted and block her attack. However, thinking about this doesn't matter anymore, because right now she not only has no time to dodge, but can't quickly withdraw her longsword either, and the opponent's greatsword is already swinging down at her. Just as Hanshari closes her eyes, preparing to meet death, my word of praise makes Dullahan stop his motion. I say, although you only used one hand, I can tell your swordsmanship is exquisite. You must have been a famous knight in life. I apologize to you first. This king was blind, mistaking such an excellent knight as you for some undead thing. Then, under Dullahan's puzzled gaze and Hanshari's dumbfounded look from the ground, I step forward and say, why must we harm these innocent soldiers? Let us end this battle with an honorable duel between two knights. Seeing me actually challenge the boss to a one-on-one fight, the others are shocked by my thought process. Even the skeleton soldiers nearby stare with wide eyes. After Dullahan falls silent for a moment, he actually picks up his head and nods at me. Seeing this, the skeletons all stop their attacks. Kim Jin-soo also leads the team members to retreat to the side, clearing a space for us too. I step forward, release releasing a magic circle from my hand while telling him he can take his head off. Your swordsmanship requires both hands. If you only use one hand, it can't be considered a true duel. Before I finish speaking, Hanshari calls out, "Your Majesty." She tells me if I don't cut off Dullahan's head, he won't die. After hearing this, I ask her, "So what? Does that matter?" This leaves her completely dumbfounded. She thinks to herself how I plan to defeat him if I don't cut off Dullahan's head. After hearing this, Dullahan first casts me a look of admiration, then hands his head to his subordinate skeleton. Seeing he's ready, I say, "I am the first knight representing Ariana, goddess of light and justice, and also the Lionheart King, Leonhart. I challenge you." Hearing this, Dullahan also raises his greatsword to his chest, gesturing to me. As the battle begins, he first dashes forward, then gripping his greatsword with both hands, he cleaves toward the top of my head. Compared to his grand momentum, I simply stand in place, completely motionless. No matter how much force he uses, he can't move my arm a fraction. Then I quickly rotate my arm. As his greatsword falls to the ground, my longsword also gently rests on his neck, and I say, "This is the first time." After Dullahan sees I'm different, he quickly flashes backward to distance himself from me. Then raising his greatsword, he spins in place once. Using the momentum, he cleaves horizontally at me again. Seeing this, everyone breaks out in a cold sweat for me. Hanshari, who's felt Dullahan's strength, estimates this strike must have over a ton of force. But what no one expects is that when Dullahan reaches me, he directly falls to the ground. This scene leaves everyone confused about what just happened. Only Hanshari looks at me with an adoring expression, saying I'm absolutely incredible. She explains to everyone that the moment the two swords collided, I used a sword-winding technique to shift his center of gravity. This way, the force of Dullahan's horizontal slash was returned to himself. Ordinary people wouldn't have the courage to try this. After Hanshari finishes explaining, I step forward and once again place my longsword on his body and say, "This is the second time." But he's unmoved. I tell him to get up and prepare to continue fighting. In the following battle, Dullahan thinks to himself that it's been so long since he's been treated as a knight, and so long since a knight has challenged him to a duel. He thinks this might very well be a trick of mine, the purpose being to escape from a difficult situation. Anyone hearing my suggestion for him to dismount would make this judgment. However, he immediately thinks this idea is foolish, because he discovers I have the bearing of someone who's fought on countless battlefields and an attitude of absolute justice. My eyes also reveal a desire for honor. Thinking this, he once again shifts his stance and swings his sword at me. However, this time's result is the same as the previous two times, calmly and skillfully deflected by me. Then I place my longsword on his body again, saying, "This is the third time." Looking at me now, he feels as if he's seeing the ultimate pinnacle of honor that knights pursue, and from the bottom of his heart believes I am a Night King worthy of respect and challenge. That's why he doesn't want to use necromancy spells. He only wants to engage as a knight in an upright duel of sword against sword, blood against flesh. He only wants to exchange countless sword techniques with the man before him. Just like in those memories he had forgotten. He too once represented justice, once drew his sword for honor, once dueled with many renowned knights. After a period of close combat, his greatsword is once again deflected by me, and this is already the 10th time I've placed my longsword on his body. However, I can feel his swordsmanship becoming more and more refined, so I ask him if he's remembered his memories from when he was alive. Dullahan straightens his posture and clenches his fists, desperately wanting this decrepit undead body to return to that glorious era. Then I ask him, does he still want to continue, knight? Hearing this, he glances at the skeleton holding his head. The skeleton understands and walks forward. Dullahan picks up his own head. He doesn't know how long these days of slaughter have lasted. For so long, he has been endlessly repeating this sinful battle. He feels that if he can end this cursed existence this way, he'll be satisfied. With this thought, he kneels on one knee before me, offering his head with both hands. Watching his gesture, I say, "You are an excellent knight. You have reclaimed your honor, and I am immensely proud of you. I will bless and pray for you. If you have a deity you worship, may your god grant your soul peace. If not, then may the goddess guide you to the end of the courtyard. May we meet again at the banquet of the gods. May you find the light." As my final words fall, brilliant golden light erupts from my palm. The head he holds in both hands begins to slowly dissipate in this golden light. Along with it dissipates the armor on his body. Beneath the armor, a spirited face is revealed. After dealing with Dullahan, we successfully closed this dungeon. Kim Jin-soo and Han Sherry still can't believe that Dullahan actually kept his promise, and that I truly ended this conflict through a duel. Combined with that final burst of intense light, they can't help but wonder, was the undead truly destroyed? Han Shari complains that if I had such a skill, I should have used it from the beginning. Hearing this, I walk over and tell her that if I had done this at the start, that night would have ended only as an undead. I could see that Dullahan was a noble knight, so he deserved a proper end. Speaking of which, I ask them, shouldn't there be loot after the battle ends? Just give me something valuable. At my reminder, everyone begins checking this round's rewards. Kim Jin-soo says just looking at that purple crystal orb, he can feel the immense magic power contained within. Hanshari is surprised that Dullahan's greatsword and cloak have also been left behind intact, but I stare at that purple magic orb, frowning tightly. I can clearly feel an evil aura continuously emanating from it. Just as Kim Jin-soo is about to say selling this would make a fortune, I directly punch down and shatter the crystal orb to pieces. After the crystal orb shatters, its own luster dims. Everyone present except me stands frozen in place. I tell them that such a thing would would only cause chaos. The final settlement shows the dungeon rewards are Dullahan's cloak and greatsword, plus several magic crystals. This day, Hanshari as usual prepares to bring me steak and high-end wine. At this moment, not only is her hair disheveled, but her dark circles are also extremely severe. 4 days have passed since I arrived on Earth. Although it's not a long time, many things have happened that leave her physically and mentally exhausted. First is the tax issue. I said as a king of a nation, how could I pay taxes to another country? Besides, managing money is what servants should do. This leaves Hanshari utterly speechless. Later, to create holiness in this land, I gathered a group of believers, and I stipulated that they must submit 90% of their income as wages. This statement nearly scares these believers to death. I say, how can the goddess's believers worry about food and clothing? Your food, clothing, and all benefits will be handled by my guild. Fortunately, the rice I blessed has an extremely high valuation. Just one bag of 160 pounds of rice can sell for 150 million. This instantly gains the believer's trust. But immediately, another problem emerges that gives her an even bigger headache: my residence. The highest grade furniture and interior design as basic configuration. Besides that, I also demand servants on standby 24 hours and artworks for my appreciation. Just finding a 5-star hotel to borrow their presidential suite, Hanshari searches until 2:30 in the morning. Finally, only after placing paintings and porcelain in the hotel she found do I reluctantly compromise. After thinking through all this, she pushes the cart and calls out "Your Majesty" outside my door. After receiving my permission to enter, she first greets me respectfully. Then she pushes the cart over for my breakfast. I ask if she has eaten breakfast. Hanshari thinks I'm about to invite her to dine together, so she says she hasn't yet. But unexpectedly, I'm only reminding her to eat on time, or it's bad for her health. Then she takes all the food out from the tray. Looking at such delicious food, Hanshari swallows and thinks she'll go buy herself a sandwich later. At this moment, I tell her to sit. Hearing this, Hanshari thinks it seems I really am going to eat with her. She excitedly finds a chair and sits down immediately. Watching her silly smile, I ask what she's spacing out for. Quickly cut the ribs into small pieces for me to eat easily. Hanshari asks me in confusion, don't I want to share this table of food with her? I seriously ask her, which king in this world would sit at the same table and eat with a commoner? After finishing the meal, we drive to a luxury apartment building. Hanshari tells me that although it can't match my former palace, the association will do its best to provide me the finest residence. To this, I reluctantly agree. After getting out, Hanshari introduces me to the exclusive helipad equipped for me on the apartment rooftop. When she's about to take me inside, someone blocks our way. Hanshari wonders, my schedule today is top secret. How could he appear here? This person introduces himself as Director Park Chung-chan of Tujing Group. Hanshari naturally knows Tujing Group, one of the country's 3 major conglomerates. However, she can't understand why a director of such a conglomerate would pretend to coincidentally wait for us here. Then Park Chung-chan asks me, are you that renowned survivor? And extends his hand toward me, saying it's a pleasure to meet me. Hearing this, Hanshari instantly understands he's here for me. Seeing his extended hand, I directly show a disdainful expression and say, does a mere peddler deserve to shake hands with me? Although Hanshari doesn't know Park Chung-chan's purpose for approaching me, fortunately I directly choose to ignore him. Then she brings me to the most luxurious suite and asks what Park Chung-chan's real purpose is. I say a merchant's purpose is definitely for profit. Hanshari instantly thinks of the rice I blessed not long ago. At the time, the incident happened suddenly, and they couldn't properly control the information. Although they contacted the person who filmed the video afterwards, requesting he take it down and delete it. That guy actually re-uploaded the video. You have to know, Tujing Group's main business is food production, so such rice naturally threatens their interests. He asked the researchers in disbelief, can eating that rice really increase buffs? Since no clinical trials were done, the researchers don't dare make hasty conclusions. Then, a woman steps forward and says to get the seeds, she already went to find the owner of that farmland. Reportedly, that dog that lived 19 years and was near death immediately became energetic after eating it. Some people also had their chronic inflammation and rhinitis cured after eating this rice. Hearing this is indeed a good thing. An excellent plan forms in Park Chung-chan's mind, but thinking of my contemptuous look toward him today makes him angry. To obtain that rice that provides power, he decides he must meet me again. He thinks I'm like other survivors, believing my own world is the best, but actually just relics of a backward civilization. So he plans to crush me with culture shock. Meanwhile, I stand by the window looking at this world. Now I've set 3 goals for myself. The first is to spread the faith. Although many gods and believers exist here, there is no truly important holy power. So to use holy power, I need to spread new faith and expand the base of believers. The second is to rebuild the Holy Grail Knights. This world has no legion that fights using holy power. They are the nightmare of monsters. They were my most capable forces. So to completely eradicate the evil forces in this world, I will spread faith to revive the sacred, and following the Pantheon's harmony and order, cultivate Holy Grail Knights. At this time, Hanshari comes over and says someone requests to meet me. I say since they followed proper procedures, meeting them is fine. Soon 3 people walk in. The leader is none other than Park Chung-chan. Looking at them, I sit down, cross my legs, and assume a haughty expression. Park Chung-chan thinks that for the group's interests, bowing to to a barbarian like me is nothing, so he says humbly that he has prepared a small gift for me this time. Saying this, he has his subordinates bring in a huge metal case. He thinks for a barbarian like me, what's inside is premium goods beyond imagination. Once I taste it, there's no going back. By then, I'll definitely beg to let their company manage that farmland. Hearing him finish, I say, considering his sincerity, I'll accept it. Hearing my arrogant tone, he suppresses his anger again and wants to open it to show me. I say I'm too lazy to teach lowly things like you etiquette now, so I have Hanshari open it and take a look. Hearing this, Hanshari walks forward and just lightly touches it with her hand. The case begins to unfold on its own. When Hanshari sees clearly what's inside, her pupils dilate instantly. When the case fully unfolds, Park Chung-chan says proudly that these are all the cutting-edge weapons their group takes pride in, and says I can choose any of them freely. Hanshari on the side is utterly shocked hearing he wants to give away such rare weapons for free. These are things money can't buy. She's only seen such things on video sites when she was in school. But what no one expects is that I say forget it. Such trashy, low-grade weapons are beneath notice. Hanshari hurriedly reminds me these are all renowned swords that rank highly. I say swords that haven't been bathed in stellar power nor received sacred blessings? How can they be called renowned swords? Are your weapons only for hunting? Park Chung-chan is now sweating profusely because of me, feeling somewhat insecure. I ask him, does he not believe what I say? Since you're so confident in your weapons, then I'll reluctantly test just how strong they are. With that, I reach into my dimensional storage and pull out my longsword. Everyone watches me pull out a weapon from thin air, first feeling surprised, but immediately notice that the sword in my hand is covered in rust. Then he says while stifling a laugh that he wants to see the brilliance of my precious sword. With that, he has Hanshari pick one she likes. Hearing this immediately makes her overjoyed. However, amid her excitement, she still turns to look at me. After receiving my nod of approval, she steps forward to select a weapon. Finally, she takes out a red longsword. This is something that's been beyond her reach for years. The Dawnbreaker from the hands of master craftsman Park Jung-chul. The moment she grips the hilt, she can feel the power contained within this sword. She heard this sword was forged for a full 10 days under the intense solar power from a special portal. It seems to be true. Then she brings the sword before me. I also raise my sword, signaling her to strike it. Seeing this, she no longer hesitates and begins gathering her mana into the blade, then fiercely swings down at my sword. But the instant the two swords collide, the Dawnbreaker in her hand shatters to pieces. This scene stuns everyone present except me. Looking back at my sword, there isn't even a single scratch. As I withdraw my sword, I say what a waste of time. Your sword is even more garbage than I imagined. Now I give you 3 minutes to finish what you have to say. Park Chung-chan can't believe Dawnbreaker broke just like that. This was Tujin Group's strongest weapon, embodying all the group's essence. For a moment, he feels unprecedented pressure from me. Finally, he can only bow and state his purpose for coming. He wants to obtain the patent for the rice seeds I blessed. Seeing I remain unmoved, he hurriedly adds that he'll pay me a high reward. According to their management's estimation, its value can reach 1,800 billion. Of course, this price is just something he said casually. How could seeds of super rice that can even cure cancer be worth only this much? However, he thinks I, this barbarian, definitely have no concept of 1,800 billion. With just a little explanation, he can make me thrilled out of my mind. Hearing this, I ask him, so he wants to use money to buy the seeds, right? Hearing this, Park Chung-chan thinks I'm taking the bait, so he hurriedly says I also need to sign an exclusive distribution contract with Tujin Group. Before he finishes, I interrupt him and say he truly is a lowly peddler. He dares to openly insult the sacred. Saying this, I slightly reveal a bit of my Lionheart King's aura pressure. This instantly makes the atmosphere in the room tense. The subordinates behind him feel difficulty even breathing. Now the feeling I give them is that if I move just a finger, their lives will end here. However, I don't make a move, but instead tell him to state his own crimes. Hearing this, Park Chung-chan can no longer withstand my powerful aura pressure and drops to his knees with a thud, then says he truly doesn't know what wrong he committed. Seeing he can't say anything coherent, I first withdraw my aura pressure. That land was blessed by the goddess Demera. It is a blessing and reward the sacred gave to hardworking farmers. How can such a thing be measured with money? And now you, this lowly thing who would deceive others for profit, actually want to ask me for the seeds. You have no faith in the sacred in your heart. How dare you fantasize about profiting from sacred produce? After they leave, Hanshari asks me if it's really okay to just let them go like this. Although in my eyes, he's just a lowly peddler. Outside, he's quite an influential person. I say don't worry about him. That kind of peddler cannot shake my position at all. Then I ask her how the matter I had her handle is going. Hanshari is about to report to me, saying news came from the association, asking if I also want to take the test this time. As long as I accept the ranking, it will be much more convenient for work. Hearing this, I ask her what nonsense she's talking about, actually wanting to use those things to test me. Hearing this, Hanshari asks me in confusion, then why still go there? I say I'm going there to find some usable soldiers, then test them. Hanshari says this doesn't seem to follow the rules. I tell her to figure it out herself. If it's not possible, make it possible. The scene comes to a building 100 meters tall. An elderly man greets a young man, asking if he's come to retest his rank again. This young man is named Gu Dae-song, an unaffiliated D-rank hunter. He also politely responds, long time no see, team leader Kim Do-han. After the two walk into the building together, Kim Do-han says he's really diligent and suggests he just join his team directly. Gu Dae-song is actually full of unwillingness inside, because after 10 years he's still D-rank. You have to know even people with no talent can eventually reach C rank. Kim Do-han says someone as honest and hardworking as him should quickly become a core member. Although it's physical labor, the mining team is actually not bad. Gu Dae-song says he wants to try again. He knows that to make a living, he needs to find a way to reach C rank and escape the porter profession. At this time, the two see a foreigner walking nearby and can't help but cast curious glances. From my back, they can easily see a trace of noble aura. Kim Do-han can't help but curiously step forward and greet me, but I directly turn around and sternly warn him not to casually speak to me, you lowly thing. This immediately crushes Kim Do-han's confidence. After I walk out not too far, I turn around again to look at Gu Dae-song behind me. Just making eye contact with me once, his body begins trembling uncontrollably. Kim Do-han beside him sees his condition and asks if he's feeling unwell somewhere. At this moment, he feels like something is pressing down on him, giving him a feeling of difficulty breathing. Not until a staff member calls his name does he come back to his senses. I look at the people coming and going in the hall, thinking there isn't even one suitable candidate. Though thinking about it, that makes sense. After all, those coming to take tests are either low-rank hunters who haven't advanced in years or rookies who just awakened and came to be tested. Then I hear someone call my name, telling me to go to test room 9. When I open the door and enter, it's already full of people inside. One person sees me enter and asks if I'm Leonhardt. My expression darkens and I warn him that as a commoner, he must address me as your Majesty. Knowing my identity is special, he has no choice but to comply. Then he tells me to place my hand on the testing device for testing. Looking at the device before me, I first remain silent for a moment. Then I say, how can commoners test a glorious knight? The person hurriedly explains that it's not them testing me, but this device before us. I say again, how can a mere broken device test a knight's abilities? Only glorious knights and gods can judge knights. Hearing this leaves this person utterly speechless. He thinks, then what am I here for? Then I say I only wanted to come find usable soldiers. Not only are they all vulgar people, even you examiners are such ordinary mortals. The person sees me so blatantly coming to recruit people and doesn't dare say much. Then I ask them what the next test is. They tell me it's practical combat testing in a portal. Hearing this, I say fine. Excellent warriors are cultivated through continuous real combat anyway. I will observe. The person wants to remind me that I want to participate, not observe, right? But in the end doesn't dare say it out loud. The scene comes to a portal in S City. Although generally conquered portals are cleared after completion, a few are deliberately kept for profit, and this portal is one of them. Gu Dae-song looks around and finds this year's test isn't much different from last year's. He secretly resolves that this time he must perform excellently in the combat test. Following behind him are also a pair of siblings. Without even looking, you can tell these two are definitely newbies. There's also an elderly man. Gu Dae-song guesses this person should be similar to him, D rank at most C rank. Finally, there's me, the foreigner. Seeing my youthful appearance, he thinks I'm probably also a newcomer taking the test for the first time. Now except for him and that old man, they're all newbies. This makes him worry if this can really work. After everyone arrives, they gather together for self-introductions. First is Gu Dae-song. He introduces himself as having been a hunter for 10 years. Profession warrior serving as damage dealer. Another young man introduces himself as Shin Tae-hoon, a newcomer who just awakened this year. The girl beside him says she's Shin Tae-hoon's younger sister, Shin Nae-eon. Her main weapon is a short blade, and she's also recently learning archery. Hearing this, Gu Dae-song realizes these two are newbies, who haven't even determined their professions yet, so he asks if they've been to training facilities alone. Hearing this, the two proudly say they've already attended training facilities for 3 months. Seeing those two don't seem promising, he turns to ask the old man. The old man says his name is Oh Gang Tae. He's been a hunter for 5 years. His weapon is boxing gloves. He kept working after awakening and just recently retired honorably. Hearing this, Gu Dae-seong thinks this old man doesn't seem to have much experience either, and his weapon is the non-lethal boxing gloves. Finally, everyone turns their gaze to me. Seeing I'm a foreigner, they tentatively ask if I speak the local language, and I very directly tell them I will not take action. Why use a dragon-slaying blade to kill chickens? Hearing this, Gu Dae-seong thinks my language skills aren't fluent yet. Then our group heads into the forest. The person in charge of testing says we only need to kill 50 kobolds to pass the test. Gnolls occasionally appear on the field. If a truly dangerous situation arises, he'll personally intervene. On the way, Gu Dae-seong is very worried this test will likely fail. Just now when he asked me about not bringing weapons, Shin Nae-eon, seeing I'm handsome, offered to lend me her bow. She thought I would thank her, but I looked at the bow before me and my expression instantly darkened. Then I threw it directly on the ground, saying knights never use such cowardly ranged weapons. Looking at the current situation, this test will very likely fail. After walking for a while, Gu Dae-seong says he knows a good place and suggests everyone go hunt there directly. Seeing his experience, everyone agrees. However, Shin Tae-hoon curiously asks, isn't there also a tribe at the end of that grassland? There should be many there too, right? Gu Dae-seong says with our small numbers, we still shouldn't easily alarm the tribe. Otherwise, once surrounded and attacked, it's hard to escape, and says he plans to attack the kobolds living in caves. Just ignite the surrounding fallen leaves and grass, funnel the smoke into the cave, and they can easily hunt outside. Hearing this, everyone praises Gu Dae-seong's experience. However, not long after entering, we encounter a kobold attack. However, this newbie team I'm with quickly slays them all. During this, everyone actively participates in combat. Even the 80-year-old man in the team steps forward and kills a few. But I stand aside observing the entire time, showing no intention of taking action. Soon the others express great dissatisfaction with me, asking why I won't help, and ask the examiner beside us if this is acceptable. The examiner, knowing my identity is special, says he'll record this part in the evaluation content. Hearing this, everyone can't say much more. After walking Walking a bit more, they finally arrive at the cave where the kobolds live. Everyone follows Gudasong's instructions and piles all the firewood at the cave entrance. Just as he's about to ignite the firewood to smoke out the kobolds inside, I step forward and ask him, is this method really the best? Gudasong sees I won't help, and now I'm saying such things. He immediately says irritably that he's tried this method many times successfully, and says I, this young rookie, lack experience. After igniting the bonfire, he gathers everyone to guard not far from the cave entrance. Soon enough, the kobolds can't stand the thick smoke and run out of the cave one after another. The few people at the cave entrance are already prepared. The moment the kobolds emerge, they launch fierce attacks. Seeing his method work, Gudasong is exceptionally excited. After all, this is just a dungeon for testing ranks, so these kobolds are relatively weak. He thinks after eliminating all the kobolds here, they'll go to the plains and kill a few gnolls. That way they can complete this mission. But before he finishes thinking, he suddenly hears a roar from not far away. As a hunter of 10 years, he knows clearly this is the howl of a gnoll chieftain. You have to know this guy is the actual boss of the portal, with combat power above C rank. He can't understand why such a creature would appear here. Seeing this, he hurriedly orders that he and Shin Tae-hoon will deal with the gnoll chieftain, while Shin Ne-eon and the old man block the kobolds in the cave, although he knows Shin Tae-hoon is a newbie. As a D-rank hunter, facing the gnoll chieftain without a tank would be suicide. Soon the two rush before the gnoll chieftain. Shin Tae-hoon approaches and only then realizes just how terrifying this monster is. The chieftain sees his fear and lets out a resounding roar at him. This completely shatters his psychological defenses. Seeing the situation is wrong, Gudasong shouts loudly for him to snap out of it, but the gnoll won't give him a chance to react. It directly lifts its greatsword and charges at him in a swift stride. Because of this, his trembling hands make him unable to block attacks he could have blocked before. After his shield is knocked away, Shin Tae-hoon sits on the ground looking at the monster before him, too scared to speak. What puzzles Gudasong is why the association examiner beside them still hasn't intervened. Logically, in such a crisis situation, they would intervene to stop the test. Now he can't just watch Shin Tae-hoon die before his eyes. Not daring to hesitate anymore, he picks up the shield from the ground and strides forward. The gnoll ignores Gudasong and once again raises its greatsword towards Shin Tae-hoon. It plans to finish off Shin Tae-hoon on the ground first, then deal with the others. Fortunately, Gudasong is fast enough and arrives in time to block this strike. Then he forcefully tilts the shield, making the chieftain's greatsword fall to the ground. The chieftain quickly withdraws its greatsword and prepares to swing again. Gudasong has already expended most of his strength just now. He doesn't know if he can take another blow. If Shin Tae-hoon could pull himself together now and counterattack, there might still be a chance. Just when the greatsword is close to his shield, a hand suddenly appears and directly catches the incoming greatsword. No matter how hard the gnoll chieftain tries, it can't move the greatsword forward even a bit. Then I tell him he barely passes, and tell him to stand up and try again. Seeing me block the chieftain with just 2 fingers, Gudasong's mind goes completely blank in shock. Seeing him standing there dumbfounded, I repeat for him to pick up the shield. I'm telling you to confront it again. Weren't you able to block its attacks just now? Gudasong is full of confusion, not understanding what I want to do. Even the gnoll chieftain beside us is a bit bewildered. Then Gudasong asks me, can't I see the situation now? Everyone is still in danger. Hearing this, I shout furiously, insolence! To receive the Lionheart King's guidance is a great honor. How dare you raise objections? A mere freeman soldier receiving guidance from me, a Holy Grail Knight, is something a family would take pride in for generations. Not only are you ungrateful, you dare question me. After this scolding from me, he has no choice but to obediently pick up the shield from the ground, then walks toward the gnoll chieftain before him. The chieftain doesn't even look at him, but instead roars at me. To this, I only slightly release a bit of my aura pressure and ask if this mad dog doesn't want to live. Feeling the terrifying aura around me, the chieftain wisely barks like a dog twice. Gudasong notices the chieftain is trembling even more than he was just now. Then the chieftain, following my will, attacks Gudasong again. This strike directly knocks him back 4 or 5 meters. Gudasong only feels his arms going numb from the shock. I beside him curse that he's an idiot. Even if you're holding a shield, you can't rely only on brute force to block. Don't confront head-on with someone stronger than you. Learn to deflect the weapon and find openings. While I'm speaking, the gnoll chieftain swings 2 more strikes at him in succession. Hearing my words, his brain races wildly, trying to understand what I mean. But in this brief moment of distraction, the gnoll finds an opening. Fortunately, I kick the back of his knee joint, making him bend down to dodge the attack, while reminding him not to take his eyes off the enemy during combat. Gudasong also knows that if that strike had landed on him just now, he would have certainly died. I tell him to focus. Don't waste your talent. You can do better. Hearing this sentence from me, his heart trembles violently. He begins asking himself, do I really have talent? But I don't even have a single fixed skill. But he no longer wants to stay at D rank anymore. This time he's no longer timid, facing the gnoll chieftain's greatsword. He doesn't retreat but advances toward it. Then the instant the greatsword contacts the shield, he quickly twists his arm, making the gnoll's attack fall to the ground. Seeing this, he himself can't believe he actually did it, but before he has time to be happy, the gnoll chieftain's fist is already at his face. He swings his fist down, sending him flying 2 meters away. Seeing this, I still curse him stupid. Don't you know you must watch the whole situation during combat? It's still far from enough. In the end, Gudasong's evaluation this time is still D rank. After coming out, I arrive at a building with quite high security. The person sitting before me is none other than Oh Gang-hyuk, the president of the Hunter Association. He asks if I knew from the beginning. I say a warrior like him, even transformed into an ordinary person's appearance, cannot not hide his aura. Oh Gang Hyuk says self-deprecatingly that to hide his build and face, he even wore a disguise mask. It seems it was all for nothing. Then he asks me if participating in the test this time achieved my purpose. I say it was okay, at least I found a squad leader candidate. Also, I have no intention of going to other countries, so you don't need to be so anxious. Seeing I hit his sore spot right away, he first pauses for a moment, then lowers his head and says, "The majesty your majesty displays is truly impressive. I may have been too hasty. What you just showed us was the same. Although it's a D-rank dungeon monster, as a boss, the Knoll Chieftain definitely counts as C-rank. But back then I looked at him like I was looking at an ant. With just one finger, I beat him until he had no way to fight back. Then, Oh Gang Hyuk showered me with flattery, and I totally fell for it, saying that thing wasn't even enough to warm me up. Next, he said if I wanted to create a guild, they would definitely give their full support. He added that if I wanted to recruit people quickly, there was no easier way than making a name for myself. And in this era, military force is the most effective means to build reputation. It just so happens that Yeongju has a portal that was upgraded to red grade due to failed conquest attempts. For the past year, no one has been able to clear it. Yaxbina is the special boss inside. Oh Gang Hyuk wanted me to obtain and destroy the wisdom jewel it was guarding. Time goes back to the first conquest attempt at the Yeongju Sports Complex portal. A local guild named KPP Guild dispatched a team. After everyone entered the portal, they all showed expressions of surprise because the technological level of this world before them appeared far more advanced than Earth. A girl behind said they actually encountered a futuristic themed portal this time. The captain had thought this would be fantasy or martial arts themed, so now they'd have to change tactics. Then they prepared to use the tall building in front of them as their base camp first. But after observing the surroundings from the rooftop for quite a while, they didn't see a single trace of any monster. This made everyone feel very strange. However, they were also relieved that the enemy wasn't a resistance army or a tyrannical dictatorship's military. After observing for a while longer, the captain called everyone to gather for a meeting. He said that although they had entered the portal's interior, they still lacked intelligence about Yaxbina. In any case, they needed to stay alert at all times and first select a scout team to map the surroundings. But before he could finish speaking, suddenly a laser beam shot from the distance, directly piercing through the captain's body. Seeing this, everyone was too scared to speak. When someone finally reacted, they shouted for everyone to quickly find cover and hide, and what had just fired the laser was a massive mechanical entity. After firing the laser, it quickly switched to artillery. It continuously fired large caliber rounds at the floor where everyone was located. The team members were blasted into a desperate retreat. After stabilizing themselves, a wave of fear began to surface in everyone's minds. Their captain was an A-rank tank, and he was still killed in one shot by the enemy. If this continued, everyone would certainly die. The man who was the vice guild master immediately issued the retreat order. Seeing the building about to collapse, everyone rushed toward the exit. The woman rushing at the front pushed hard with her feet and dove forward, preparing to check if outside was safe. After confirming there was no ambush, she first informed those behind her. Then she took the lead and ran out first. But just as she got out, she suddenly stopped in her tracks because she felt her neck was a bit itchy. Immediately, this itchy sensation spread throughout her entire body. The next second, under everyone's gaze, she was sliced into over a dozen pieces. Only then did everyone discover that the doorway was covered with hard-to-observe thin wires. They didn't understand when these appeared. They clearly weren't there when they first arrived. Seeing there was now no way back, the Vice Guild Master ordered everyone to cut through these wires. He told everyone to inject spiritual energy into their weapons. They could be cut. They were now desperately wanting to escape, because they had already lost 2 key members without even seeing the enemy. Little did they know, the moment they stepped out of the building, they had already been locked on. The robot watched everyone walk onto the street, then switched weapons again. It swung a laser whip down at them. After several lashes, only screams could be heard amid the flames. In the end, only the severely wounded Vice Guild Master remained. Having lost his sanity, he shouted at the surroundings to come out. After hearing his shouting, the robot also jumped out from the shadows. The Vice Guild Master looked at his team, completely wiped out by such a small robot, his face full of disbelief, then asked if it was Yaxbina. The robot beeped twice, recalling a memory. It was in a laboratory where a woman was installing new parts for it, entrusting it to guard this city well for her. The Vice Guild Master, seeing the robot ignoring him, became greatly annoyed and started cursing at the robot. The robot didn't indulge him and swung the laser whip again. It tore the Vice Guild Master into pieces. Just like that, the first conquest team of 58 people was completely wiped out. Afterward, the association dispatched a second and even a third conquest team, but after they all failed, this portal was upgraded to red grade. The association also indefinitely suspended the conquest of this portal. On this day, the conquest of this portal was finally restarted. However, those entering this time were not a single guild. It was led by the Golden Lion Guild, one of the 10 major guilds in H country, with S-rank hunter Golden Sheol as guild master, a rank hunter Huang Yon Shubuwei as vice guild master, and 47 combat members, plus Magic Tower member, quasi-S-rank hunter Chi Tae-seong, and 48 mercenaries, as well as the Hunters Association's A-rank hunter Han Shari, and me, an unranked nameless young foreigner. Outside, Chi Tae-seong had already negotiated with them. The Wisdom Jewel would belong to the Magic Tower, and everything else plus 60 billion in cash would all go to the Golden Lion Guild. Han Shari and I sat to the side, appearing leisurely. After entering the portal, I saw Han Shari looking restless beside me and asked her what was wrong. She said she was a bit worried. If things could proceed smoothly without me taking action, that would naturally be best. But this way, I would lose the opportunity to greatly boost my reputation. I said that as the Lionheart King, if I haven't taken action, it means the situation isn't that serious. serious. So what do you think is the emperor's duty in my kingdom? After hearing this, Han Shari said, isn't it to manage the country? I said that's the most basic duty, and anyone can replace that. As long as they're not deficient, anyone can do it without much difference. Han Shari asked if it was to lead the knights in charging ahead. As soon as she said this, she suddenly thought of something. When facing the Dullahan at the very beginning, and the Knoll chieftain not long ago, I only took action at critical moments. Seeing she finally figured it out, I told her the Lionheart King's duty is to be the last bastion. To require the Lionheart King to personally take action is a humiliating matter for the knights. It also means the situation is dire. For you weak and useless people, this king must be troubled again this time. Han Shari said that this team not only has S-rank Golden Sheol, but also many high-level mages, so there shouldn't be much of a problem. I said you guys are called hunters, right? I admit that compared to ordinary humans, you are indeed somewhat stronger, but these people don't understand how to fight in battle. They've only fought the enemy 3 times and already think the city's perimeter is safe. They don't even have a single lookout. You call yourselves a conquest team and say you can respond according to monster characteristics. This sounds utterly ridiculous to me. Warriors must have the ability to adapt on the fly. There are no so-called characteristics. In my view, that thing called Yaxbina is the natural-born warrior. After hearing what I said, Han Shari suddenly had an ominous premonition. The next second, a violent explosion occurred in the area where we were. Yaxbina recalled the last time it saw that woman. Before dying, that woman issued it a final command. That was to eliminate all uncertain factors invading the city. After firing the rocket launcher, Yaxbina quickly switched to a machine gun. Then it began indiscriminately strafing the conquest team. Its sudden appearance caught everyone completely off guard. Although after the first round of attacks, many people hid behind cover. But this wasn't a problem at all for Yaxbina, which possessed X-ray scanning. After locking onto targets through thermal imaging, it pulled out its laser weapon, and without hesitation, fired toward the most densely populated area. As the laser fell, that entire building was instantly razed to the ground. Seeing such terrifying destructive power, the others couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. In the distance, Yaxbina needed a period of time to recharge after each shot. As an S-rank hunter, Golden Sheol quickly spotted its figure. Without a word, he grabbed his massive hammer and charged toward the robot's direction. Due to the sudden attack, the robot could only twist its body to avoid its vital parts. This hammer strike directly disabled one of Yaxbina's joint areas. Golden Sheol landed and shouted loudly. Hearing this, Huang Yunhua dashed forward with a clenched fist. With one large stride, she reached behind the robot. Then she fiercely punched down at its head. After taking this punch, Yaxbina's body clearly began to leak electricity. But before it could stand up, another lightning bolt struck its body. And the one who launched the lightning attack was Chi Taeseong. Bearing the lightning, Yaxbina began overloading and spreading electrical wires while downloading a radar system. This way, the entire city became its eyes. Then it locked Chi Taeseong as the priority elimination target. Immediately afterward, it quickly bounced away into the distance. Just as everyone was about to get up and chase, it took another burst of bullets. Seeing the situation was bad, Chi Taeseong shouted for everyone to gather together. Then he used a distortion field to generate a protective shield. Once those bullets approached the field, they would be affected and change trajectory. This was also a magical item Chi Taeseong had prepared in advance to deal with Yaxbina. After detecting the abnormal physical phenomenon, Yaxbina began maintenance calculations. In just 2 seconds, it had completed the analysis. By adjusting trajectories, it accurately made the bullets land on its preset points. Chi Taeseong couldn't believe how the opponent analyzed the bullet deflection angles in such a short time. This made him wonder, what on earth is this thing? After calculating the trajectories, Yaxbina unleashed another barrage on everyone inside the field. Those inside the field told Chi Taeseong to quickly shut it down, otherwise none of them could launch ranged counterattacks. But as soon as the field was shut down, Golden Sheol shouted for everyone not to move, because he discovered electrical wires everywhere around them. Everyone hadn't even seen clearly how the opponent had deployed these wires. At this moment, Yaxbina's laser weapon had finished charging. This scared Chi Taeseong into breaking out in a cold sweat. To activate the field, he had gathered everyone together, which now meant they couldn't dodge even if they wanted to. Helplessly, I had to summon my mount from the dimensional storage, first biting through the wires to help them escape. Then I said to the robot, "This king greatly admires your bravery in fighting alone against many, so I have decided to grant you the honor of fighting against this king." Those behind me who had always thought I was a newbie wondered where this madman came from. After analysis, the robot's algorithm concluded I was merely a simple organic being, threat level 0. So it set the railgun's output to 13% and prepared to fire. Seeing this, I spurred my white horse while reaching out to draw my spear. The robot saw me charging and directly fired a shell at me. I shouted that as a knight, I would not be defeated by such cowardly ranged weapons. Then I accelerated again, charging head-on toward its shell. The next second, an explosion rang out. But what flew up wasn't my body, but parts from its body. Because at this moment, my spear had directly shattered one of its legs. In an instant, the robot's super AI computing server stopped working, because the phenomenon occurring before it simply couldn't be explained by logic. Initially, it analyzed that the weapon in my hand was an ancient lance. Although fast, the weapon's mass limited its impact force, so it believed that a threat level 0 organism like me posed no threat at all. But 3 seconds before I struck it, it discovered that my roar formed a thin membrane. Although different from previously recorded physical phenomena, it was still within acceptable parameters. Even if it could block the shell's impact, it would still be erased by the subsequent explosion. But the next second, the robot was shocked to discover that its shell was actually deflected by me. Moreover, there was no impact process at all just now, only the result of being deflected deflected. It didn't know that I actually used a holy technique, Shield of Protection. It's a law that can force even the rules of the world to comply. The effect of this skill is that any ranged attack, no matter what kind, can be unconditionally deflected once. The robot's server could no longer perform logical analysis and couldn't understand this physical phenomenon. Then it forcibly raised my threat level to 5. Sensing something was wrong, it hurriedly opened its smoke vents, then released thick white smoke all around. When I walked into the smoke, I only saw its severed limb on the ground. After the robot escaped the scene, it returned to its base for repairs. The equipment here all operated automatically and could continuously provide it with ammunition. Moreover, it could also upgrade itself based on the enemy's strength. On the city side, the team began searching the city for that robot to eliminate it completely. Suddenly at a corner, they seemed to discover something resembling a turret. The leader ordered those with ranged attacks to throw a few skills to test it first. Seeing no response for a while, he turned around and was stunned by the scene behind him, because he discovered that everyone had already been sliced into pieces by thin wires. Before he could react much, he heard a whooshing sound from behind, but when he drew his sword and turned around, he found no one there. Immediately, the wires around him swiftly sliced through his body. A 5-person squad was just silently eliminated by the robot like this. This scene happened to be witnessed by a guy with mushroom hair passing by. Seeing this, he bolted away. When he reached a cemetery area, he fell to the ground. Watching the approaching robot, he began pleading for mercy repeatedly. However, as the robot walked to the cemetery, it suddenly stopped in its tracks. This place triggered a memory from its past. A woman had said that before long she would be buried here like the others. She told the robot that even then it must remember to guard this city well. At this moment, the robot's internal programming had a conflict. The program priority was to eliminate invaders, but the robot, through autonomous judgment, forcibly changed the priority order. Finally, it turned and jumped back into the city. After the robot left, Chi Tae-seong's group also heard the commotion and rushed over. The mushroom-haired guy thought the robot must have sensed Chi Tae-seong's power and chose to flee. Chi Tae-seong looked around and discovered that in this city, only this area seemed untouched by the ravages of war, and the reason the robot chose to retreat was that it wanted to protect these citizens, even though they had now become the dead. After returning to the base, it continued using the equipment to charge and upgrade itself. It also mobilized the entire city's surveillance and confirmed that 49 team members remained. Suddenly at this moment, it detected that the base's gate was opened by external force. Turning its head, it discovered it was actually my figure. After I entered, I said, "So you're here, playing happily with those small fries?" As the Lionheart King representing knightly spirit, I greatly detest cowardly sneak attacks, so I didn't immediately launch an attack on. Instead, I waited until it finished preparing before initiating an honorable duel. However, it didn't plan to cooperate with my honorable battle and launched a surprise attack the moment it saw me. But this wouldn't become a reason for me to abandon knightly spirit. It was precisely because of this that I was able to make the entire continent submit when I was in the other world. After I walked out from the explosion, not even a speck of dust had touched my clothes. Seeing this, the robot immediately switched to a machine gun. It strafed the position where I stood. However, all the bullets were blocked by the shield around my body. After observing this strange physical phenomenon, it immediately stopped wasting ammunition. Then it quickly dodged to the side. At extremely high speed, it fired bullets from all directions around me, making these bullets come at me from every angle. To this, I merely smiled slightly. Then with a forceful stomp, I lifted the surrounding ground and blocked those 3 bullets. The robot watched my operation and beeped in complete bewilderment. The next second, my spear descended from the sky, landing on the position where it had been standing. Its reaction was quite fast too. 1 second before my spear fell, it quickly dodged away. But before it could stabilize its stance, I charged out from the ruins on my warhorse and pulled up the spear stuck in the ground. In just the blink of an eye, I had charged right in front of it. In desperation, it quickly powered its legs and leaped high into the air. At the same time, it unleashed another burst of bullets at me on the ground, but I still stood in place without moving an inch. This abnormal phenomenon left the robot somewhat unable to comprehend, so it didn't dare stay longer and turned to flee. In just the blink of an eye, it had darted several hundred meters away, and I patted Stallion beneath me, and it understood and followed, and at a speed surpassing it, stayed closely behind. The robot couldn't understand how an organic being could possibly have such speed. Seeing it was about to be caught, it locked its sight on an iron pillar. Upon reaching it, it extended its arm to hook the pillar, completing a 360-degree sharp turn. It collided with my white horse Stallion. However, in this collision we still didn't budge, but instead it was knocked back over 10 meters. I said, "Stallion, your strength hasn't diminished from back in the day." The robot here, seeing me distracted, suddenly jumped up wanting to launch a surprise attack, but its bullet's speed simply couldn't keep up with Stallion's pace. No matter how fierce its firepower, it was always a step behind us. It even fired rockets at a nearby building, wanting to use the collapsing walls to block my steps. But what it didn't expect was that Stallion actually used these falling stones to leap up. In one breath, we soared directly above its head. Finally, with no choice, it unlocked all its weapons, preparing to unleash all its firepower. This time, I didn't use a protective shield but charged directly at it. Those bullets that hit my body were all deflected, leaving brilliant sparks. Seeing this scene, the robot was completely and utterly baffled. I shouted "Glory of Leonhardt" and raised my spear to pierce its body. With a violent explosion, the robot's body was cleaved in 2 by me. At this moment, it remembered that woman had once told it that what was sealed here absolutely must not be taken away. So without hesitation, it activated the chain self-destruct device. The self-destruct signal spread rapidly through its internal core fragment fragments to every corner of the city. Those pre-planted explosives were all collectively activated at this moment. The next second, under my surprised gaze, a mushroom cloud rose from the city center. In the second before the explosion, Robot 253 recalled when it first opened its eyes in a room full of the smell of gasoline. The first mission it received was to guard this city. That person had just given it the command when they were killed by 2 tentacles. Immediately, a large-eyed monster peered into the workshop. The next second, it was blasted into pieces by the robot's fierce firepower. Then one robot after another began joining the battle. After quickly ending this battle, these robots became city heroes. The robot's story became a celebrated tale among the city's citizens who had long fallen into despair. They became symbols of the city's hope, and also the steel knights in the citizens' hearts. Under the command of the final commander, they defended the city time and time again. But the enemies seemed to spawn infinitely, continuously launching offensives, until there was nothing left in the city to protect. Then it stopped. Finally, Robot 253 was left alone and received the final command. That was to guard the city. That thing absolutely must not be taken out of here. Just like that, 253, to prevent anyone from approaching that thing, began to learn self-upgrading and built factory bases. Even though it was alone, the robot chose to face enemies alone. In the days that followed, when there were no invaders, it repaired defenses and collected resources. Whenever it encountered invaders appearing from the portal, it would kill them without hesitation. Now, I look at the robot on the ground cut in half, thinking fortunately, I had the protection of shield of protection just now. Saying this, I look toward the glowing purple orb beside me. I ask if this is what you've been guarding all along. This thing is called the wisdom jewel, right? That's something that shouldn't exist in this world. Saying this, I draw my longsword and slowly walk toward the wisdom jewel before me. Seeing this, the robot on the ground uses its last bit of strength to shoot out a wire that wraps around my calf. I ask if it still wants to continue fighting me. How long have you guarded this thing? How long have you fought alone? According to the way of loyalty and righteousness, you are an absolutely loyal knight. All life forms in this dimension owe you a debt. Now this king solemnly declares that you have completed your mission. Saying this, I swing my sword toward that wisdom jewel. The energy bursting from my sword breaks through the earth, blooming into a brilliant light in the high sky. After the light dissipates, the wisdom jewel is also split in two and loses its luster. At this moment, the robot also seems to find peace and stops operating. After returning to the association, I inform Guildmaster Ogang Hyuk about what happened in the dungeon, and ask if he has any dissatisfaction with me destroying the jewel. Ogang Hyuk says that since I eliminated the robot, how to dispose of the wisdom jewel is also my right. I tell him not to feel regret about this because if that thing were brought out, it would only be a disaster. Hearing this, Ogang Hyuk asks me why I say this. I tell him that jewel is something created by the malice of wisdom and exploration to tempt humans. In other words, it's a demon's thing. Hearing the word demon, Ogang Hyuk is startled at first. Then I say, although at first it will help people realize wishes, as time passes, it will gradually begin to demand a price. Just like fattening pigs to slaughter and eat their meat, it will use immortality and indestructibility as bait to gradually devour humans. Under its temptation, losing rationality and becoming a demon doesn't take much time. When I hear they've also discovered this thing in other places, I tell him to hurry and destroy it. However, other places may have already fallen into the demon's trap. During our conversation, we arrive at a massive metal door. The door opens, revealing many researchers inside and various high-tech equipment. On the research table in the middle sits the very robot I cleaved in two. Oh, Gang Hyuk says they've already placed it here, then asks how I plan to handle it. I say it was once an honorable knight, so naturally it should be buried and prayed for. May it attend the banquet of the gods. Then I take out my holy grail, saying before that, I must first consecrate it. Saying this, I begin to activate the holy grail in my hand. The next second, a golden light flashes from the holy grail, enveloping the robot on the table. After the golden light dissipates, the robot actually stands up again. This scene scares Ogang Hyuk behind me quite a bit. The robot beeps twice at me. Suddenly, a thin tentacle extends from a gap. I wonder, there's no power source now. How did it do this? Could the blessing of victory have created a miracle? After that thin tentacle extends, it quickly begins prying open its own shell. Before long, a miniature robot emerges from this shell. It looks up at me and beeps twice again. Seeing this little thing, I say with sudden realization, I see, if it's you, being chosen by the goddess isn't impossible. After saying this, I draw my longsword from dimensional storage. Then I thrust the longsword into the ground. Everyone seeing this scene shows expressions of surprise. But before they can react much, I suddenly swing a slash before me. Where the blade passes, even space is torn open with a rift. Then a woman's phantom appears in the rift. Upon seeing this woman, Gang Hyuk drops to his knees with a thud. Everyone can feel that this radiant woman of light is definitely not human. She is a sacred being in this world that no one can match. Under everyone's astonished gazes, the woman slowly solidifies her form and steps out of the rift. At the same time, I kneel on one knee and call her name, Ariana. Hearing this, Ariana says, Leonhardt, my first knight, tell me the reason you summoned me. I say that this Yaxpina before us can become an honorable knight. It is qualified to receive your scrutiny, Ariana. Ariana looks at the robot on the ground and says, but it hasn't accepted my quest. I say that as your first knight, I can vouch for it. Seeing that Yaxpina has actually received my guarantee, Ariana is slightly surprised. Then she says, in that case, there's no need for further examination. But one thing needs to be made clear. Steel Knight of another realm, are you willing to enter under my knight, the Lionheart King, and glorify light and justice? Although your mind is filled with honor and knowledge, your intellect is still like that of a child. You must help my knight eliminate evil forces, and then one day you two will be able to become my knight. Hearing this, Yaxbina turns and casts a questioning look at me. After I make eye contact with it, I nod slightly. After receiving my signal, it stands straight and firm, beeping twice. Obviously, including Ariana, none of us understand what it's trying to express. So Yaxbina begins having its internal server download a language module. After the download completes, it says in a stilted mechanical voice, confirmed. Eliminating demons is a good plan. Hearing this, Ariana smiles slightly. Then she bestows her blessing upon Yaxbina. From this moment on, it becomes a holy grail night. Just as I exit the door, I spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. This is because on Earth, I have no believers to provide me with faith. So after appointing a holy grail knight, the consumption on me is enormous. At this moment, a voice comes from the location of my heart, asking if I'm alright. And this speaker is the being I brought along from the other world, she says. Although this injury is because the power of faith is insufficient, these days she and the gods not taking action to help me also bears responsibility. Then she finds the other 3 deities, saying they need to find a way to help me, this holy child. Back when I crossed to the other world in my 121st year, the world suffered a devastating blow, and in the end, only I remained as a knight, and I directly made all the deities in the world hide inside my heart. The gods also hide inside me with shame. Then, under their witness, I fought demons alone for 180 years. I alone bore all the responsibilities of the world. Therefore, the gods have always had a deep sense of debt toward me. After sitting down, Ariana tells the gods about my injury. The god of war, Pethos, after hearing this, pounds the stone chair forcefully, then says, merely appointing one holy grail knight, and it's come to this. Where has the Lionheart king who once brought glory to the gods gone? Hearing this, Ariana tells Pethos to watch his words. That man fought for the gods for over 200 years and ultimately achieved victory. Pethos says he's angry precisely because he knows this, but this rage is directed at himself. At these words, the others also lower their heads in silence. In the past, I fought alone for them in the other world, now back on Earth. Must it still be this way? After thinking for a while, Ariana says she cannot just watch her knight suffer, so we cannot remain silent like this anymore. As soon as the words fall, the blacksmith god Hedo raises his hand, saying he has an idea. We can let people see the immediate effects of blessings and cultivate faith throughout society. Just like before when Demera bestowed blessings on the waterways. Pethos asks if he means to conduct missionary activities. Hedo says exactly. We need to let people see miracles and tangible divinity. Among the 4 of them, currently only Demera has believers. Hedo discovers that his main way of gaining believers is something called the internet, so he plans to also use this internet to gain believers. Demera beside him hears this and nods vigorously, thinking this is a good idea. Pethos raises a question, saying, wasn't I originally from this world? Why didn't I think of this? Hedo explains that when I left this world, the internet probably hadn't yet become widespread. Ariana says, we know nothing about this world's internet. How can we utilize it? Hedo says, have you forgotten about that holy grail knight we just recruited? The scene shifts to the Hunters Association's media office department. An employee asks Kim Jin-soo to look at this video. It's a bit strange, asking if this publisher got approval. Kim Jin-soo sees the footage in the video is from Raju Plains not long ago, and this blogger's name is actually Pantheon. The video's content is basically promoting those rice plants that received blessings. Just eating a spoonful can cure most diseases on the body. Looking below, it's all filled with negative comments. After watching the video, Kim Jin-soo asks who made this. Seeing the name Pantheon, an employee asks if it's His Majesty Leonhardt, but Kim Jin-soo doesn't know I was once an Earthling, so he rules me out. Then the bald man asks if Agent Han might have done it. Kim Jin-soo knows full well that Han Shari is computer illiterate. When the computer system had problems before, she sent him a photo of the computer tower. However, the biggest problem now is that everything described in this video is true. In that case, there's absolutely no reason to take it down. Finally, Kim Jin-soo gets up, preparing to come find me to see what's really going on. Meanwhile, in my apartment, Yaxbina is frantically typing away at the computer in front of it. Just as it hits enter to upload, Han Shari knocks and enters, asking if it's done using her computer. She also asks what it's been doing with her computer. Yaxbina responds in brief mechanical tones, hype campaign, phase 1 successful, now proceeding to phase 2, network infiltration. Han Shari freezes for a moment after hearing this. Then, being computer illiterate, she immediately assumes Yaxbina is just playing games. The next day, I arrive at Raju Plains and find a small courtyard. I'm using this as the Raju Plains branch of my Pantheon guild. Early in the morning, Kim Jin-soo bursts in, saying he wants me to delete the video I posted. Seeing the section chief has arrived, Han Shari thoughtfully hands him some barley tea to drink. After rushing here, Kim Jin-soo is a bit thirsty and gulps down the entire cup in one go. After drinking, a flush quickly rises to his face. He asks who posted yesterday's video. I tell him it was Knight Yaxbina. Following the direction of Han Shari's finger, Kim Jin-soo discovers with surprise, isn't that the boss from the dungeon a while back? He never imagined I could not only recruit this robot, but that it could even do something like this. At my inquiry, he explains that the rice blessed by me is completely different from any crop in their world. This rice not not only extends life but can cure all diseases. Such things only exist in fairy tales. Once made public, it will inevitably shock the entire world. When that happens, there will definitely be many ill-intentioned people coming to compete for it, and these people will certainly be powerful hunters. Finally, he says once they get approval from the Food and Drug Administration, the association will provide full management assistance. He asked me to wait a bit longer. I say I understand this world's legal system, but you seem to be overthinking things. This rice is the product of a goddess. No one can steal it. Hearing this, Kim Jin-soo doesn't understand where I get the confidence to say such things. And that very night, sure enough, several cars sneak into Raju Plains. This group has been commissioned to obtain the rice seeds and burn the entire rice field to the ground. Seeing the commission said to bring as much combat power as possible, they thought this place would be heavily guarded. But when they arrive, they find not a single person. These people are from a contracted organization under the H-Nation branch of the Viper Demon Association. After getting organized, they begin pouring gasoline from cans into the fields. But after just a few steps, they see what looks like a figure in the distance. Everyone immediately draws their weapons and goes on alert. But when they get closer, they discover it's just a scarecrow. However, strangely enough, one of them clearly saw the scarecrow move just now. A companion says it was probably just the wind. But after just a few more steps, that person stops again. He frantically tells everyone to look behind them. When we walk through here, I don't remember there being so many scarecrows behind us, and they all seem to be holding weapons. The leader dismisses this, calling him a coward. Those are just farm tools. How can you call yourself a hunter when you're scared by scarecrows? He then orders them to finish pouring the gasoline quickly, grab the seeds from the granary, and the mission will be complete. Receiving the order, everyone dares not delay and speeds up their work. Before long, they've poured out all the gasoline they brought. When they regroup, they discover two teammates seem to be missing. But looking around, they find no one here except some scarecrows. Only now does the leader sense something's wrong. He remembers that a few minutes ago, these scarecrows weren't this close to him. Just as he's shocked by this, a scarecrow has already appeared behind one of his men. The leader hesitates no longer. He draws his blade, dashes forward, and splits that scarecrow in half. Then he turns back and shouts, "Combat positions! These things really move. They're not ordinary scarecrows. They're monsters." Seeing they've been discovered, the scarecrows no longer hide and reveal their weapons. This scene terrifies everyone. Logically, unless there's a dungeon break, such monsters shouldn't appear in the world. Finally, after narrowly escaping death, they break free from the scarecrow's encirclement. With more than half their personnel casualties, the leader regrets not bringing more people. Just then, someone shouts, "Captain, look over there! Isn't that the granary they've been looking for?" At this point, the captain no longer cares about the commission. As long as they get these seeds, they won't have to worry for the rest of their lives. With this thought, he orders everyone to head to the granary to carry the seeds. He also says the scarecrows can only move in the fields. The granary should be safe. With that, he takes the first step toward the granary. But as soon as his foot lands, he's blown away by a landmine buried in the ground. Everyone doesn't understand why there would be landmines in the field, just as they're wondering who could have done this. Yaxpina suddenly walks out from the side, beeping twice. Someone recognizes it. Isn't this Yaxpina, the big boss from the Gyeongju portal? Before everyone can react, Yaxpina's eyes turn red. By the time the sun rises the next day, this group has been bound hand and foot and placed outside the small courtyard. Next to them stands a notice board. It lists precautions for activities in this rice field. In the bottom right corner, in red text it reads, "Thieves will die," after handing this group over to the authorities and exposing them. With Yaxpina's algorithms and hype campaign, Pantheon and the Blessed Rice's stock prices skyrocket. I also begin traveling everywhere to promote Pantheon so the rice can sell well. Although small disturbances occasionally occur, they're only temporary. Eventually, all online platforms, including video sites, are dominated by Pantheon. I sigh in admiration. These divine beings seem to adapt to modern society better than I do, to come up with such a plan. At this moment, Hanshari walks over with a report, saying in surprise, "The quality certificate for this rice is out. One bag can sell for 230 million. I tell Hanshari to keep the price lower. She asks in confusion, "Shouldn't we sell it as expensively as possible?" I say, "Although market forces determine prices, if we sell crops at such high prices, how can ordinary people afford them? Divine blessings must be bestowed fairly upon all people." Although I already told the president last time to spread divine blessings among the farmers, he said the president must maintain religious neutrality. Hanshari says, "The president has a point. He should indeed remain neutral." I say, "Regardless, this incident has gained many believers. It should be enough to establish my legion and influence." Seeing me get up to leave, Hanshari asks if this is really okay. "Although I've applied for a yellow grade portal as you instructed, I don't think those people you selected can possibly clear a portal of this level." Hearing this, I simply smile slightly and say, "We'll find out when the time comes." The scene now shifts to Hunter Association headquarters. In the lobby, Kim Do-han greets Gu Dae-seong. Gu Dae-seong politely responds. After the two exchange brief pleasantries, Gu Dae-seong looks around and notices the lobby is full of low-rank hunters like himself. Almost all are the lowest D rank, with occasionally 1 or 2 C ranks. Soon, Hanshari enters the lobby with 2 bodyguards. Everyone's gaze turns toward this A-rank magic swordsman. Then, as Hanshari announces loudly, His Majesty Leonhardt has arrived, I slowly enter the lobby. When Gu Dae-seong sees clearly that it's me, he's greatly shocked. Although in the test dungeon, seeing me block the boss's attack with one finger, he knew I was no ordinary person. But he never imagined that I and he live in completely different worlds. Seeing everyone has arrived, I step up to the podium podium before them. Then I say, I've called everyone here today for one reason: to recruit soldiers who will enter my guild, Pantheon. I will give those who are qualified, who prove their strength, who survive the training, a chance to enter my army. Hearing this, everyone begins murmuring. From what I just said, they heard not recruit guild members but soldiers, and not enter an organization but army. After everyone quiets down, the bald man at the side says, now announcing the content of this test. As he presses the remote in his hand, a portal appears on the big screen. The bald man says, your mission this time is to clear a yellow grade portal. The crowd below erupts in chaos. This is undoubtedly sending them to their deaths. The hunter's reaction is quite normal. Portal levels and difficulty are distinguished by color. When they discovered me, it was in the highest level black grade portal. Below that is the red grade portal where I subdued Yaxpina. Next is orange yellow grade. Below orange yellow is yellow, then green, and finally blue. The portal Gude Song participated in last time was blue grade. Even at the lowest level portal, if I hadn't intervened back then, they certainly would have all been defeated. So upon hearing they're supposed to clear a yellow grade portal, these low rank hunters express their dissatisfaction. Some even turn around and choose to leave immediately. Watching people leave, Gude Song wonders, won't I step in to stop them? In just 2 short minutes, most of the people below have left. Seeing those remaining show no intention of leaving, I first look around. Then I point to someone in the crowd. The afro-haired guy is startled and asks if I'm talking about him. I say yes and ask why he didn't leave. The afro-haired guy stammers, saying the association probably wouldn't issue an impossible mission. He thinks there must be a deeper purpose to this. Finally, I ask several others, and their answers are all similar. Finally, I point to Gude Song and ask why he didn't choose to leave. Having witnessed my strength, Gude Song can confirm I will be the next S-rank hunter, or even stronger than S-rank. And this is the guild I founded. He definitely wants to see what it's about. For him, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After thinking for a moment, he says he believes I wouldn't stand by and watch them die. Seeing others stammering while his voice is loud and firm, I say, good answer. I should have said I'm here to recruit soldiers. And obedience is a soldier's virtue. All you need to do is obey my commands. You must trust in my reputation and my power. That is your only duty. In other words, you just need to follow my orders. With that, I shout loudly for them to collect their equipment now and prepare for battle immediately. The scene shifts to the portal entrance. Everyone has now equipped their gear and assembled on the ground. Although this equipment is a bit heavy, they can tell it's quite valuable. Under normal circumstances, low-rank hunters like them could never access such equipment. Thinking this, they look at me and notice I don't seem to be carrying any equipment or weapons. Puzzled, Gude Song walks over to ask Hanshari if I'm not wearing any equipment. Hearing his question, Hanshari doesn't know what to say for a moment. Finally, she tells Gude Song that my skin is far tougher than this armor. Gude Song thinks to himself, that's right, I led them to easily clear a blue-grade portal before, so clearing a yellow-grade portal shouldn't be a problem. Entering the dungeon, we advance through the jungle. Just as they're puzzled by the surrounding silence, suddenly everyone receives a system notification. The message roughly states, choose between 2 tribes and lead them to victory. As hunters, they immediately understand. This is a faction quest. They just need to see which side is stronger, join them, and complete it easily. At this moment, someone notices what looks like a group heading this way in the distance. When they get closer, they discover it's a group of orcs. In no time, they've rushed right up to us. They form up and surround us. The leading orc then asks who we are, saying we've now invaded the territory of their battle axe tribe. Since everyone is a low-rank hunter, they can't help but feel nervous seeing this formation. Meanwhile, after seeing this group of orcs, veins bulge visibly on my face. Hanshari notices my expression change. She steps forward to persuade me that for the sake of the dungeon mission, we should follow the system prompt. With my permission, she steps forward to face the orcs. She says, we're mercenaries. We came because we heard we'd be rewarded for helping a tribe win. Hearing we're mercenaries, the orcs lower their weapons and say, so you're the outsiders our chief mentioned. With that, they tell us to follow them back to the tribe first. Noticing my increasingly displeased expression, Hanshari feels a growing sense of unease. Soon, led by the orcs, we arrive at their tribe. Their chief, Kaleta, comes out and says that, although we're even more frail than imagined, since you're here, help us, the glorious warriors of the Battle Axe tribe, achieve victory. When I hear him say the word glorious, my teeth are already grinding audibly in anger. Unable to listen anymore, I step forward and ask, you dare call yourselves glorious warriors? With these words, both sides sense thick tension in the air. Then I say, you beast don't deserve to speak of glory. Hearing himself openly insulted, Kaleta erupts in rage. But just as he grabs his weapon, I've already flashed before him and drawn my sword, severing his head. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, I shout, you trash! You'll only crawl on the ground like insects until you die. The reason for this is that I'm an extreme orc racist. I once slaughtered nearly 9 million orcs in another world and earned the title Orc Slayer. The other orcs freeze for a moment after seeing their chief die. Coming to their senses, they quickly grab their weapons and swarm toward us. This scene terrifies the low-rank hunters behind me. Seeing them at a loss, I remind them to raise their shields for defense. Having no other choice, the hunters comply, though they know full well this is futile. After all, these D-rank hunters struggle even with blue-grade portals. How could they possibly block orcs from a yellow-grade portal? Before they finish thinking, the orcs have already rushed up to them. Then one grips his great axe tightly and swings down fiercely at the hunters. With a tremendous clang, brilliant sparks fly between axe and shield. The hunters can't believe they actually blocked the strike. Just as they're puzzled, they receive another system notification. When they read its contents, they're completely stunned. Because the moment they raised their shields, they received a buff called Lionheart Strength with so many enhancements that one page can't display them all. They also also gained a title effect with powerful bonuses when fighting orcs. Before everyone finishes reading these buff effects, many more pop up with extremely powerful enhancement names. However, because their level is too low, they can't apply these powerful buffs. Originally, everyone only knew to raise shields defensively. As I order them to push back this trash with their shields and strike with their blades, the hunters immediately act according to my instructions. They quickly shift from defense to offense, making the orcs retreat continuously. The orcs can't understand why these seemingly frail humans can unleash such formidable combat power. Seeing themselves outmatched, the orcs begin praying and calling to their deity. Hearing this, I tremble with rage and shout, "You trash dare invoke a god?" I tell the hunters to cut out these trash's tongues, then behead them to disgrace their false god. With that, I summon my mount, Stallion. He lands, raising thick clouds of dust. A few orcs, seeing the commotion here, look over curiously. The next second, I charge out of the smoke on my warhorse. Stallion crushes that orc's skull with his front hooves. After he carries me charging into the center of the orc horde, I draw my holy sword and holy spear. At this moment, there are already nothing but corpses in my eyes. In just 10 minutes, I lead the hunters to victory in this battle. Then I raise my sword high, celebrating victory. The hunters also shout for this incredible battle. Only Han Shari approaches me with a confused expression. She asks why I did this. I say, "Do I need a reason to kill orcs?" Han Shari reminds me that the mission said we need to help one side win. Hearing this, I angrily say, "You want me to help that trash? I'd rather die. Their very existence is evil. They have no reason to live. Even if they're fierce warriors, how can a beast's ferocity compare to a knight's valor? So don't think of them as people. They're just disgusting garbage." Seeing my stubborn racism, Han Shari freezes. Then she says, "There must be good orcs in this world." I say coldly, "Remember this? The only good orc is a dead orc. Since portals appeared on this planet, many orc world survivors like me have come here, although people warmly welcomed them returning triumphant from the demon realm. Not only did they fail to integrate, but they all fell and became demons. So orcs are also a troublesome existence." After leaving the orc tribe, Yaxpina finds a location by the river. It says that, according to analysis, launching an attack from here has an extremely high probability of total enemy annihilation. Hearing this, I say, "Very good. I'll leave this to you, Knight Yaxpina." Receiving the order, Yaxpina begins overclocking its internal chip. In just an instant, its energy output reaches 99%. Then its cooling system begins malfunctioning, and the chip starts melting. The next second, under Han Shari's shocked gaze, Yaxpina suddenly turns around. From behind its body, it launches an energy rod into the river. Han Shari looks at the energy rod in the water. She asks why it looks like poop. I tell her to watch her language and not say such vulgar things. Then she asks if this is really okay. Isn't eliminating enemies by releasing radiation in the upstream river against knightly principles? Hearing this, I first laugh. Then I tell her and Yaxpina, dealing with orc trash is just like hunting prey. It's not war or a duel. What hunter worries about honor when hunting? I'll say it again, the only good orc is a dead orc. Hearing this, Han Shari thinks to herself, just how much does this guy hate orcs? Meanwhile, in the other tribe, an orc named Groktar has just won a match, and his opponent must pay with his life for it. After the duel, Groktar feels thirsty and heads toward the river. Arriving at the riverside, he draws a bucket of river water. Without hesitation, he gulps it all down. After drinking, he feels today's water is strangely burning, numb, and itchy. However, he doesn't think much of it and turns back to the camp. When evening comes, he suddenly feels intense pain in his abdomen. Unable to stand, he can only drag himself out of the tent. He keeps calling for the shaman, but when he crawls to the plaza, the scene before him chills his heart, because at this moment, the other orcs in the tribe are in the same condition, all vomiting and having diarrhea. The shaman has never seen such symptoms, let alone treat them. He only knows this is definitely not sorcery or any curse. Just as he shouts to the sky asking what this is, I charge over on my warhorse saying, "This is the glory of Leonhardt," while knocking him down. I shout to the hunters behind me, "Eliminate all this trash. Don't let a single one escape." I also apply anti-contamination buffs to them. Actually, the hunters have been waiting eagerly. This is basically free experience. Seeing the situation is bad, these orcs want to run and close the gates, but the intense abdominal pain makes it difficult even to stand. Thus, they can only watch helplessly as the hunters charge into the tribe. Then the hunters begin indiscriminate slaughter. After all the orcs in this tribe are slaughtered, everyone receives a notification saying, "We've become enemies with all orc tribes. We're now the enemy of all orcs," and a hidden quest pops up to eliminate all orcs. After reading the system panel, Han Shari reports to me that the mission has changed. I'm very pleased by this, because now I can righteously uphold justice with a just cause. I call to the soldiers around me, "Follow me to eliminate the traitors," but before I finish speaking, a resounding roar is heard. Looking back, I find it's this tribe's shaman, who survived through some kind of sorcery. Learning we're the culprits, the shaman begins cursing us as despicable and shameless. He also asks if we deserve to be called warriors after doing this. Hearing this, I simply turn and chuckle. Does trash like you deserve to speak of warriors? Having my visage appear in the pupils of lowly creatures like you is already an insult to me. Seeing my arrogance, the shaman shouts that Groktar will not forgive us. Then his entire body erupts with obscure magical power, beginning to form some kind of magic circle. Seeing he wants to play tricks, I grip my holy spear and stride forward. I thrust it out and accurately pierce through his entire body. However, an evil smile appears at the corner of his mouth as he says it's too late. Lord Groktar will descend upon this place. As his words fall, many black tentacles extend from the magic circle. They wrap around and devour the orc corpses on the ground. After consuming enough, spatial distortions appear in midair. I recognize this as magic magic requiring sacrifice and say disdainfully as expected, they're still trash whose civilization hasn't progressed at all. Before long, that spatial distortion begins materializing. It finally forms into a black portal. After the portal takes shape, a massive green hand extends from it. Seeing his magic circle succeeded, the shaman shouts excitedly for everyone to open their eyes and look. This is Lord Groktar's right arm and eye. At the same time, everyone receives a quest notification to repel the orc shaman god Groktar before them. After Groktar sees the scene outside clearly, he extends his arm in a circle, then uses this circle to aim at my position. The next second, a powerful laser fires out. It strikes directly at my location. However, it's blocked without damage by my holy shield of protection. Seeing this, Groktar says in surprise that I also possess divine protection like his. He asks which god protects me. Hearing this, I say, "You dare call yourself a god? I don't think you even have the qualification to mention gods." With that, I draw my long sword from dimensional storage. The bulging muscles on my arm tear my clothes directly. Then I spur my warhorse and charge toward him. Seeing this, Groktar also swings his fist toward me. Just as his fist is about to reach my head, I unleash a sharp sword aura, leaving a golden mark on his wrist. The next second, as the golden sword mark explodes, intense stabbing pain spreads through Groktar's entire body. Not daring to hesitate, he quickly withdraws his severed hand. He doesn't understand why his physical body was severed so easily. The shaman below also seems to notice something wrong with Groktar. After Groktar sees clearly the holy sword in my hand, he finally recognizes me and says tremblingly, "It's actually you, Orc Slayer, master of the holy sword and holy spear, nemesis of evil, agent of the gods, the knight left alone in that nightmarish world." He can no longer remember how many incredible titles I possess, but one thing he knows perfectly well: crushing him would be like crushing an ant. With this thought, he dares not stay any longer and rapidly leaves this world. As he leaves, he says he'll make the shaman pay for this reckless summoning. Watching Groktar leave, I don't intend to stop him. Instead, I dismount and approach the shaman. Then I mock him. "Is this all the god you summoned is capable of?" The enraged shaman rises and demands to know what trick I used, but all that answers him is the cold blade in my hand. Finally, I don't forget to mock them again. What a bunch of trash. As the last orc falls, everyone simultaneously receives a mission completion notification. Everyone not only gained the orc butcher trait, but also acquired a trait called Knight's Armament. Gude Song opens the trait details with trembling hands. This skill that only tank classes should possess, everyone has received it. Others are also shocked by this incredible scene and discuss it animatedly. Before they finish reading, I roar, "The battle isn't over. Everyone go recover the spoils of war. This is also part of battle." Hearing this, the hunters dare not slack off at all. They step forward and begin looting the orc corpses. At this moment, Hanshari approaches from behind and calls to me. She points at the hand Groktar left behind and asks how to handle it. Just as Hanshari finishes speaking, Yaxbina above beeps twice. Then it activates its holographic projection function. In the projection, the blacksmith god Hedo says he can sense powerful magic in this severed arm. He wants me to use the Holy Grail to absorb the magic within, and they'll assist me. Hearing this, I do as Hedo says and take the Holy Grail from dimensional storage. Approaching the severed arm, I begin releasing holy power from the Holy Grail to envelop it. Immediately, tiny points of light begin appearing on the severed arm. After a while longer, the entire arm begins rapidly dissipating. The light it emanates is completely absorbed by the Holy Grail in my hand. At the same time, I can feel this power is similar to the holy power within me. It seems this guy received worship from quite a bit of orc trash, but I cannot acknowledge this trash that has no mercy for life. In my heart, they're beings that absolutely must be eliminated. After absorbing the power from the arm, I hear the goddess calling my name. I wonder how I can hear her voice without performing a ritual. Ariana explains it's because of the magical power I just absorbed, so no ritual is needed to communicate with me now. Then she says this time she's calling me to make a choice. This power should help restore the power of any one holy relic. Pethos behind me speaks up, suggesting I choose the holy sword. Ariana tells him to be quiet and gives the choice to me. Hearing this, I fall into deep thought. Currently, I possess 4 holy relics: the holy spear, the holy sword, the holy grail, and Lionheart. Obtaining the holy sword's power now requires too great a cost. After consideration, I choose the holy grail. As my words fall, the holy grail in my hand begins absorbing holy power from another dimension. After a brief absorption, it regains the brilliance it once had in the other world. Finally, it settles back into my hand. I didn't expect such tremendous gains from this mission. At this moment, Hanshari runs over hurriedly, calling me. I put away the holy grail and ask what's wrong. I also notice Yaxbina, which was always above her head, is missing. Hanshari can't explain clearly and tells me to go see for myself. But before she finishes speaking, a scream comes from behind. I turn back and see Yaxbina has tackled a hunter to the ground. Then it quickly binds him with wire. Its eyes also turn to combat red. It turns out the soldier secretly kept a piece of loot. Hearing this, I directly sever one of his arms. This instantly terrifies the other soldiers, who break out in cold sweat. After all, Earth abolished such cruel punishments long ago. I explain to them, although your laws and common sense are different from mine. Now that you've entered under my command, you must follow my military law. In my kingdom, theft results in losing a hand. But for these Earthlings, this is still difficult to accept. However, they recall the various buffs I applied during the battle. These directly increase their combat power by more than 5 times. Orcs that once required an entire army to defeat could be easily killed with the buff enhancements. So faced with such tremendous benefits, everyone begins leaning toward my side. They say theft is wrong to begin with. Moreover, Dungeons are lawless places. Having strict discipline might actually be a good thing. At this moment, a soldier can't help but step forward. He first introduces himself as Gude Song, then he asks if he can take the thief's severed arm back. I ask Gude Song if he wants to reattach it for him. If so, my punishment would lose its meaning. Hearing this, Gude Song nervously explains that their common sense differs from mine. This is also your first time telling us your rules, so he hopes I can give them one chance. After thinking for a moment, I feel what he says makes sense. Then I summon the Holy Grail from dimensional storage. As a drop of clear holy water slides from the cup and falls to the ground, a brilliant golden light radiates from the man's severed arm. The next second, under his shocked gaze and those of everyone around, the arm that was just severed miraculously regenerates. Gude Seong thinks to himself that even S-rank healing hunters can't regenerate lost limbs. At most, they can only reattach severed arms. He can't believe that I not only possess incredible combat power and can grant the team unbelievable buffs, but now also have healing abilities that surpass S-rank healing hunters. After healing his wounds, I tell him to get lost. This king's army has no room for a thief. Then I tell the others that those willing to join under this king can stay, and those who want to leave can take their share of the spoils and go now. After hearing this, everyone looks at each other, but not a single person wants to leave, because after witnessing my power, they know this is an opportunity they must seize. Seeing that no one leaves, I tell them to take the spoils and enter formal training once they return. Just as everyone is dreaming of a better life, Hanshari comes over and asks what the next training will be. Hearing this, I smile slightly and tell her it's endurance training. After exiting the dungeon, everyone rests briefly before gathering at the plaza as instructed. Seeing everyone has arrived, Hanshari steps forward and shouts that His Majesty Leonhard has arrived. Then I step onto the platform and first congratulate them for passing the simple test. The people below think to themselves that the orc dungeon that troubles even advanced guilds is merely a simple test in my mouth. Next, I say that through observing their battles, I've discovered some problems. The biggest problem among them is that their physical condition is too poor, so I tell them that I plan to first lead them in physical training. From now on, this king will arrange training according to the Leonhard Kingdom's training guidelines. The people below start imagining medieval-style muscle training in their minds. But when I say that only through constant pounding can one become tougher, everyone suddenly has a very bad feeling and asks if it isn't some regular physical training. I say that knights who guard the kingdom cannot train like commoners. So in order to quickly strengthen and harden the body, they must constantly tear and pound their bodies, then I'll help them recover. This way, not only will muscles become tougher, but to minimize getting hit, they'll also improve their reflexes. Upon hearing this, their hearts sink completely. Before they can react further, I point at the crowd. I order them to start brawling right now. You must beat each other mercilessly until the opponent's muscles are torn throughout their body and their fists are ruined. If you can shatter each other's bones, that would be even better. Gude Song asks in shock what to do if there are casualties. I ask him in confusion why he would ask such a question. Saying this, I take out the Holy Grail again and place it on the table. While releasing holy power, I say that standing before you is the guardian of the Holy Grail. You should feel fortunate for this. As soon as the words fall, the scrapes on Gude Song's face heal at a visible speed. He touches his face and asks in disbelief what's happening. I explain that as long as they're within range of the holy power, they gain tremendous regenerative ability. Though it can't compare to drinking holy water directly, it can still make bones fuse and flesh regenerate. Finally, I tell them the battle time is 5 hours. During this period, all you need to do is destroy everything before you. If after 5 hours there are still people who haven't been injured, then this king will personally take action. After leaving this place to Yaxpina, I turn and leave. The people in the plaza look at each other, unable to bring themselves to strike. Some even show friendly, appeasing expressions. However, when Yaxpina sees the scene, it directly swings its laser whip toward the crowd, and in a mechanical voice warns them to hurry up and start, or else the turret on its back won't show mercy. At this moment, everyone knows there's no way out. Helplessly, they grit their teeth and swing their fists at those beside them. Immediately, the plaza devolves into total chaos. Gude Song is stunned in place by this sudden change. Just as he asks if everyone has gone mad, a fist flies into his face. This battle starts at 9 in the morning, and continues until noon at 12. Seeing us bring over a large barrel, everyone asks in confusion what it is. After hearing this, Hanshari stammers, embarrassed to speak. However, I directly tell them that this is their lunch, water with salt and sugar added. After fighting all morning, the starving crowd nearly faints upon hearing this. According to my training manual, the energy they consume just needs to be enough to sustain life. At 1 in the afternoon, I have everyone assemble in full gear. Then I have them divide into 5 groups to block my mounted attacks. Training continues until 9 at night, when everyone collapses from exhaustion. As described, this is training akin to hell itself. Without Hanshari's care, it would be impossible to persevere. Although this is all within my plan, the hunters struggling desperately in hell have no way of knowing. Early the next morning, Gude Song puts on his equipment and practices alone in the plaza. While holding his shield, he continuously thrusts the longsword in his hand. However, after each swing, he needs to pause for quite a while. This shield is much heavier than he imagined, and swinging the sword is also quite strenuous. Attack positions within a shield formation are very limited. If holding a sword, you can only thrust forward. After he swings a few more times, I step forward and say he's wrong. Upon seeing me, Gude Song is slightly surprised. I tell him not to mind and to get into position and thrust again for me to see. Hearing this, Gude Song tenses all his muscles and raises his shield. Then his right arm grips grips the sword hilt and pulls back. Finally, channeling all his body's strength into his wrist, he thrusts the longsword forward. After thrusting, he nervously turns his head to look at me. Unexpectedly, I still say he's wrong. Next, I step forward and lift his shield, saying I've noticed that at the moment he thrusts, he has a habit of lowering his shield. The shield protects the right shoulder of the person beside you. Even if it blocks your vision, you cannot lower the shield. After hearing this, Song asks me why. I tell him that without the shield, there will be gaps. Once gaps appear, they form cracks. After hearing this, he seems to understand something and says that heavy infantry like him are responsible for blocking enemies and especially launching counterattacks, right? I say that's correct. Shield and spear are the standard formation and the royal way. Song raises a question, saying that most enemies in dungeons are monsters, and they can't be dealt with just by standard formations. Hearing this, I first fall silent for a moment. Then I ask if he's teaching me how to deal with monsters. Hearing him say he wouldn't dare, I smile slightly. Then I say that in my world there were also countless monsters. Compared to them, the monsters in your Earth's dungeons are quite adorable. There were giants over 20 meters tall and snakes with multiple heads. There were spiders accompanied by tens of thousands of goblins, and ancient dragons as massive as mountains. To deal with so many monsters, you need to know countless hunting methods and possess the ability to adapt immediately. These things can only be learned in actual combat. Do you have decades to spend fighting monsters while serving the goddess? Do you have the resolve to achieve victory on any battlefield with just a sword and a spear? Hearing this, Song feels he's nothing compared to me. At this moment, I continue, saying that's why I'm teaching you one thing, taking hits. You only need to master this one skill to increase your survival rate. Song clenches his fist and says he's not satisfied with just this. He says he wants to become stronger and reach higher places. Hearing his answer, I show a gratified smile and ask if he wants to become a knight. Song says in surprise that he's just a commoner. Aren't only nobles allowed to become knights? I tell him not to use this world's common sense to speculate about my kingdom. Knights are not exclusive to nobles. Anyone willing to shoulder heavy duties, walk the thorny path, protect the people, and courageously do good deeds. Anyone willing to dedicate their life to the goddess and believers. As long as they can take this sacred oath, anyone can be a knight. If you have the courage and qualifications to fulfill this duty, then you have sufficient merit to earn my respect. Hearing these words, Seong's heart trembles violently. Only now does he realize that he himself has been carrying prejudice all along. At the same time, he resolves to become a knight. That evening, the scene shifts to the Magic Tower branch in M Country. The Magic Tower Master, seeing the Wisdom Jewel light up again, is so excited he's nearly in tears. The jewel says it will grant the Magic Tower Master profound truth and wisdom. However, it requires appropriate sacrifices, and it orders a spatial teleportation spell to be set on the jewel so that in a critical moment it can instantly eject into space. The Magic Tower Master asks in confusion why. Won't it still need to use this jewel to descend to Earth later? After hearing this, the jewel roars angrily, asking if it has gone mad. Why would it jump into a fire pit? It says it absolutely will not appear on the planet where I, this monster, exist. After saying this, it changes the subject and gives the Magic Tower Master a method to eliminate me. It believes that now, with the Holy Grail Knights and my forces absent, it's the perfect opportunity. First, find a way to enter the portal together with me. After finishing its plan, it lets out a long breath, silently praying for heaven's blessing that this time I must be killed. The scene shifts to several days later. The day training is completed. Hanshari asked me if I really want the standing army to raid the yellow grade portal by themselves, with even her and Knight Yakspina excluded. However, Section Chief Kim Jin-soo is going along this time. Once everyone has assembled, I stand on the platform and say that after 4 weeks of training, you have fully proven yourselves. Now it's time to demonstrate your strength. From now on, you will raid this yellow grade portal before you. Normally, this would be a place you wouldn't even dare to imagine. However, this time, you will realize what it means to be a soldier of me, the Lionheart King. There, you will encounter the faith you shall serve, the warriors of the Pantheon. Listen well, march forth with this king. This time, 49 people enter the portal, average D rank hunters, and Kim Jin-soo from the Hunter Association, plus myself. However, just as we're entering the portal one after another, Yakspina emits 2 beeps. Hanshari tells it not to worry, with His Majesty accompanying them. Nothing will go wrong. Yakspina says anomaly detected. His Majesty Leonhardt plus 49 standing army members and 1 observer, a total of 51 people. Hanshari counts and says that's right, what's the problem? Yakspina then says that 52 people have now entered the portal. After saying this, it begins scanning the personnel who haven't yet entered the portal. It quickly discovers a suspicious individual. Before Hanshari can react, it leaps to the ground in one bound. Then it charges fiercely toward the portal. Midway, it adds nitrogen boost acceleration, just managing to rush in before the portal closes. Hanshari follows close behind, running in large strides to the portal. However, by the time she arrives, the portal has already closed. With a loud clang, she's sent flying backward. Before she can even feel the burning pain on her face, she's shocked speechless by the scene before her. She sees the yellow grade portal in front of her first shaking violently. Then the surrounding color slowly begins transforming from yellow to red. Finally, this yellow grade portal actually upgrades itself to red grade. The scene now shifts inside the portal. This world is in the midst of war, and by the looks of it, humans are at a disadvantage. My landing point with the standing army happens to be not far from the battlefield. When everyone sees the scene before them, they're stunned. No one expected this to actually be a demon portal. Just as everyone is shocked, I draw my longsword and order them to take up shields and form a defensive formation. formation. With the previous training, upon hearing the command, everyone quickly begins taking up their shields. Before long, they form a tortoiseshell formation. The next second, I shout forward toward the front, "Advance!" Kim Jin-soo in the crowd thinks to himself that this is a demon portal, yet I order an advance instead of retreat. But what surprises him even more is that these D-rank hunters show no fear whatsoever. On the contrary, their eyes are filled with steel-like determination. Just as he's puzzled, he suddenly receives a system notification. Looking closely, he's been granted a buff called Lionheart's Strength, with so many enhancements that one page can't display them all. The demons on the battlefield are also attracted by the commotion on our side. Seeing we're humans, they begin charging toward us to attack. But when they crash into the shields, it's no different from crashing into a city wall. Swords and blades striking it leave not a single mark. Kim Jin-soo's mind has gone completely blank at this moment. After all, even B-rank hunters wouldn't dare face the attacks of these bloodhounds head-on. He can't imagine what happened in these 4 weeks. On my end, after seeing the first wave blocked, I order them to continue advancing. Upon hearing the command, the soldiers take one synchronized step forward, sending several monsters at the front of the formation flying backward. During the advance, they encounter many monsters knocked down by the shields. What awaits them are only the cold longswords in the soldiers' hands. The commotion here attracts more and more monsters, but not a single one can break through the steel fortress. Finally, several large creatures on the battlefield sense something's wrong and begin charging this way. The sharp-eyed Kim Jin-soo quickly notices the demon at the very back. After getting a clear look, he loudly warns the surrounding soldiers that it's a demon mountain troll. The attacks of this type of monster are infinitely close to an all-out strike from an A-rank hunter. Just as the troll's attack is about to fall on the crowd, Squad 3 leader Gudae Song picks up his shield and flashes forward. After a thunderous clang, the shield in his hands is compressed red by the tremendous pressure. After standing up, he merely says calmly that compared to His Majesty's attacks, this is nothing. The troll, seeing its attack blocked by a weak human, immediately flies into a rage. At this moment, Yaxpina bursts out from the rear, switching out its mini Gatling gun, unleashing a barrage of bullets at the troll before it. I follow right after, first shouting, "Well done!" Then I draw my longsword and stand upon my horse's back. The moment I leap, I'm like a sheet of paper lifted by wind, my body completing an exaggerated arc. The sword raised in my right hand whirls with a blue blade edge, the sound of it cutting through air louder than thunder. The instant the blade passes, the troll's body is sliced into 108 pieces. After landing, I stand like a spear, the golden longsword in my hand pointing diagonally at the ground. The blade's radiance pierces through the haze, leaving only blood splattered across the sky. Then I turn back, the coldness in my blue eyes suddenly surging, as if to freeze the air itself. All the demons, seeing the troll killed by me in one strike, show expressions of disbelief. Knowing they're no match, they dare not linger and turn to flee into the distance. The soldiers of this world had thought the kingdom would fall today, but seeing the crisis resolved, they all weep tears of joy. Next, one of their leaders walks over and expresses gratitude to me. As soon as he finishes speaking, my soldiers receive a system notification. The content is to protect Sphero Kingdom and repel the Demon King's invasion. Time limit, 1 week. This shocks everyone tremendously. This was clearly a yellow-grade portal. Why does it have a Demon King that only appears in red-grade portals? Just then, a soldier rushes over in panic to report that the portal we entered through has disappeared. The robot Yaxpina says that when everyone entered the portal, it detected an anomaly. Someone else followed and entered the portal. Since I've only recently returned to Earth, I don't fully understand the portal mechanisms here. Gudae Song steps forward to explain to me that this is a variable portal. Simply put, it's when the dungeon's difficulty suddenly increases for some reason. Before clearing this dungeon, no one can leave. Having fought on battlefields for 300 years, I understand this is absolutely not a coincidence. After thinking for a moment, I order them to proceed with the original plan to clear the portal. Gudae Seong asks worriedly, what if the Demon King we encounter is a demon lord? I turn back and say that I'm the Lionheart King who has taken down 2 demon lords and over 30 greater demons. Are you questioning this king's power now? After hearing this, everyone showers me with flattery. Although I say this, I'm actually uncertain in my heart, because back in the other world, I not only had divine power, but also the power of faith from many believers as a bonus. But no matter what, a knight must never show cowardice. Right now, I am the hope that all of them rely upon. Meanwhile, in a canyon somewhere within the dungeon, the wisdom jewel in the magic tower master's hands laughs aloud after observing me. It knows I've grown weaker. Originally, it thought I was an invincible monster. Now it seems I'm human after all. After hearing this, the magic tower master suggests performing a ritual to have the Great One personally descend to Earth. The moment the words leave his mouth, the wisdom jewel angrily rejects it, because the shadow I cast upon it back in the other world still cannot be erased. However, it changes tone and says it doesn't need to personally take action. In this dungeon, there's something that lust-filled demons spent 100 years creating. Dress her up as the Demon King, and that should be enough to eliminate that guy. Sphero Kingdom in this dungeon was a kingdom with 1,000 years of peaceful history. However, like other worlds, it ultimately couldn't escape the disaster of dimensional invasion. The demon assault caused cities to fall one after another. Only the final royal capital remains, resisting desperately. The survivors who lived through the disaster are holding on to their last shred of hope, fighting a final desperate battle with the demons. Gudae Song tells me that what he just described is this dungeon's theme. After listening, I say that portals really do each have their own characteristics. Gudae Song then adds that this portal has one difference. There's a time limit. Normal portals will stop at the designated time even if all the monsters haven't been eliminated. But for missions with time limits, as As long as the mission requirements are completed, the portal will close regardless of whether all monsters have been annihilated. Hearing this, I first think for a moment. Then I ask Section Chief Kim Jin-soo from the Hunter Association, who came along, that given the urgent situation, if Yaxpina and I take action, will it affect the evaluation of this dungeon run? Kim Jin-soo says it won't. The president still gave him this authority. The others, hearing that I can help them level up again, jump with excitement. However, there's one more thing. That is, this time, we must not only complete the mission objective of repelling the Demon King, but also complete the hidden mission of killing the Demon King. Hearing this, Gu Daeseong and the others are shocked. When I'm alone at night, I take out the Holy Grail. Although the holy power gained from killing that mountain demon during the day wasn't much, it should still be enough to contact the Pantheon. With this thought, I use the holy power to establish a connection with Ariana of the Pantheon. Then I say that although I discovered it somewhat late, I can sense an unusual presence in this dungeon. Ariana says that I'm a living person with a physical body, so it's indeed not easy to detect, because this presence is so natural, as if fused with this world itself. I think to myself that even I didn't notice anything wrong. A being with such powerful strength should either be the Demon King or someone of equivalent status. It seems to be a demon lord level demon. Ariana then says that what's strange now is that if it possesses such powerful strength, the presence should be even more intense. After saying this, she tells me the Divine One of the Pantheon has something to say to me. Fleur says she wants to examine this world. She must have sensed something. Hearing it's Fleur, I ask if her descent will require energy. Ariana says yes, and even without saying it, you should know what to do. I say of course. I have a reliable method. Afterward, we ride in a carriage to the front of the palace. After the carriage stops, a person steps out and introduces himself as Palak, the chief steward. He will lead us to the reception hall. After saying this, he leads us into the palace. Looking at the decorations around the corridor, I praise the palace's master for having excellent taste. Palak explains that Sphero Palace is a palace with a long history. From the founding Queen Fiora to the current Queen Barris, he has served countless queens. The three people behind hear that the rulers are all female and begin discussing that this is apparently a matriarchal society. Hearing this, I turn back and look at them angrily, and say that as mere commoners they dare to gossip about royal family affairs. What country's etiquette is this? Hearing this, they quickly apologize. Palak ahead says it's fine. It's normal for outsiders to have such questions when they come here. After walking a while longer, we arrive in front of a large door. Palak says that inside is the reception hall. Her Majesty the Queen is already waiting inside. After the door opens, I see that the person seated in the center should be the Queen, with two people standing on either side. Below the platform are many knights, and a group of people who look like ministers. The two people on the platform, seeing us enter, step forward and descend the stairs. They ask if I'm Leonhardt, who fought gloriously at the city gate. He introduces himself as Duke Akim, the kingdom's prime minister. To reward my achievements in this battle, they've decided to grant me a knighthood. He asks me to read the document with Her Majesty the Queen's commendation. Before he can finish speaking, I cast an extremely cold gaze at him. Then I directly bypass him and step forward, saying I must first pay my respects to Her Majesty the Queen. The white-haired man in armor, seeing this, steps forward and blocks my path. They say that even if I've achieved military merit, as an outsider I cannot approach Her Majesty the Queen. In an instant, the atmosphere in the hall becomes tense. The three people behind me also can't help but grow nervous. However, they feel that what the Prime Minister says makes sense. I probably won't get angry over this, right? But they don't know that this person constantly lecturing me has pushed my patience to its limit. However, I still hold back and address the Queen, saying I am Lionheart, King of the Lionheart Kingdom. Although I know this is somewhat impolite, I still must do what I must do. Upon hearing this, Prime Minister Akim blocks my path again, and loudly demands to know what I'm saying. He even points at me, saying he'll have the general drag me out. However, the next second, I grab his head. This guy's actions show absolutely no respect for me, the Lionheart King. So next, under everyone's shocked gaze, I exert force with both hands and directly twist the Prime Minister's head 2.5 rotations. The three people who came with me can no longer guess what I'm trying to do. The knights around also draw their swords and step forward, facing the approaching blades. I show no intention of dodging whatsoever. Instead, I ask Akim on the ground how long he plans to keep hiding. Do you think these petty tricks of yours can escape this king's eyes? Show your true form, you filthy devil. As soon as my words fall, Akim's eyes open again and turn red. Next, the surface of his body begins constantly writhing, as if something is about to emerge. Before long, a mantis demon bursts out. The Akim from just now has now become nothing but an empty shell. Everyone hasn't yet recovered from the shock when they hear another commotion from the crowd. Then one after another, mantis demons emerge from body after body. In an instant, the originally solemn hall descends into chaos. At this moment, I shout loudly not to panic. If everyone unites and fights together, we will surely achieve victory. A mantis demon takes advantage of my distraction and steps forward, swinging its front claw at me. However, without even turning my head, I simply extend 2 fingers and block it. This scene completely baffles the mantis demon. Before it can react, I lightly flick my fingers to the side and directly tear off its entire arm. Then with a backhand strike of my sword, I sever its head. The white-haired man says he never expected that even within the queen's palace, there would be these vicious creatures. After saying this, he also draws his sword and rushes to behind me in one step. Then he splits the mantis demon behind me in half with one slash. He orders that these demons all be eliminated, leaving not a single one. Upon receiving the command, the knights also join the battle. With my assistance, the mantis demons in the hall are quickly cleared out. out. But during this time, I notice the queen on the throne seems not to have moved at all. Just as I'm about to step forward to investigate, the white-haired man draws his sword and blocks my path. I turn to him and say, I understand your loyalty, but in such a critical moment, you actually don't prioritize protecting the royalty. The man says his loyalty can only be defined by the queen. Those three people feel what he says makes sense. After all, we're outsiders. But after hearing this, I slowly extend my finger. Then with a light flick, I send the sword in his hand flying to the ceiling. And I tell him that the one asking is this king, the one making the judgment is also this king. As for how to rule, that is the queen's matter. I also advise him to know his place. The man says the queen is currently not in her right mind and cannot make effective judgments. Previously, the one holding power was the prime minister. Now that the prime minister is dead, the one in power is him. After I glance back at him, he stops speaking. I say that throughout this royal capital, the aura of the fallen is surging everywhere. It needs to be dealt with quickly. This makes the man's heart tremble. He hadn't expected the situation to already be this serious. Finally, helplessly, he has to ask what I want. Looking at the queen on the throne, I say I want command authority over the soldiers and the right to dispose of corrupted spawn. You're also incompetent. This king must solve it for you. Afterward, the general, as required, assembles all the people in the royal capital to the plaza. Seeing that enough people have arrived, I announce that the general has already handed power over to this king and introduce myself as Lionheart, king of the Lionheart Kingdom. The bewildered people are all startled by this sudden turn of events. Next, I say that among them exists corrupted spawn who have been deceived by demons and fallen. These corrupted spawn likely want to take advantage of the external purge to incite internal chaos. I tell them not to worry too much. I already have a method to distinguish the fallen. At this point, someone below asks curiously what method it is. I say I will demonstrate it to you with actions next. Saying this, I lift two people from below the platform. Then I directly throw them into the bonfire beside me. And I say from now on, those who are not corrupted spawn, those who have not fallen, those who are not heretics, just jump into the fire pit to prove your innocence. The crowd below, seeing this, show expressions of disbelief. A blonde girl exclaims in shock that I want to kill them all. As soon as the words fall, they see the man among the two I just threw in burned to ash. After the outer skin is burned away, the demon's true form is revealed, while the woman walks out completely unharmed. I explain to them that this is holy flame. It will only burn those evil, filthy demons to death. I also tell them to thank Pathos, the god of war and flame, and to shout her name when walking out of the flames. But after I finish speaking, I see not a single one of these people takes a step forward. So I directly draw my longsword from dimensional storage and tell them to hurry and enter. Helplessly, everyone covers their eyes and rushes toward the bonfire before them. The remaining demons no longer need to hide their identities and all reveal their true forms. That group of demons mocks me, a mere human, for truly overestimating myself. They say they'll reduce me to ashes. This angers me so much that I let out a furious roar, directly shattering these demons' eardrums. Then I berate them harshly, calling them nothing but trash, a bunch of maggots parasitizing on humans and full of themselves. How dare you imitate humans and walk on 2 feet, gathering together and pretending to be soldiers? Do you think I will forgive you? I will make you wish for death, screaming as you die. Your desperate shrieks will echo through the sky. Watching my hysterical roaring and the aura I'm unleashing, they all stand frozen in place, at a loss. They don't understand. They just walked on 2 feet. So what did they even do wrong? And by the looks of it, they seem to have provoked someone they shouldn't have. Behind the scenes, the Magic Tower Master, seeing this scene, tells the Wisdom Jewel that the plan seems to have failed a bit. The Wisdom Jewel trembles while saying, continue shrieking in agony. That is the only method that can make this king happy. No one here understands better than me how terrifying that guy who always keeps his word is. Before long, I tie a demon to the platform and tell everyone not to panic. As long as I, the Lionheart King, am here. These corrupted spawn cannot harm you. Your negative emotions will only fuel the corrupted spawn's arrogance. Before I can finish speaking, this demon interrupts me, shouting not to think it ends like this. You will all be destroyed. I control the fallen and I don't wait for it to finish either. Directly chopping down on its head with one palm. I tell everyone to open their eyes wide and take a good look at this demon. These controllers of the fallen are the culprits who tempt you and make you fall into fear. Your hunger, illness, family discord, morning stumbles, lack of partners, lack of money, even losing at cards, all of it is caused by them. The demon, hearing what I say, is itself completely confused. It hesitantly asks me if all of this actually has nothing to do with it. Hearing this, I directly turn back and snap off its antennae, telling it to shut up. The crowd below, after hearing this, also begin recalling all kinds of misfortunes in their lives. Then they pin all the blame on this demon on the platform. After hearing this, the demon curses loudly that they're really just a bunch of lazy good-for-nothings. None of this has anything to do with it. The next second, I snap off its other antenna and tell it to shut up. After everyone calms down a bit, I say to the citizens striving to live righteously that these demons are the source bringing misfortune to your lives. In short, all the misfortunes in your lives are related to demons. You cannot have proper faith because demons interfere, but you need not fear. Pathos, the god of war and flame, has bestowed upon you holy flame. Saying this, I point to a red-haired youth below and tell him to come up and take this torch. Although he doesn't understand, the boy can only comply. Next, I tell the boy to use this torch to dispose of the demon. After hearing this, the boy tremblingly walks toward the demon holding a torch. The demon sees the boy approaching and bares its sharp fangs, threatening that if he dares to touch it with that thing, it will hunt him down to the ends of hell and kill him. The moment it finishes speaking, shaking. My fist knocks out all the fangs in its mouth. The boy also musters his courage and swings down the torch in his hand. The demon, writhing in pain, starts hurling profanities at everyone around. As the Lionheart King, I naturally cannot tolerate such filthy language, so I give it a thorough beating. Meanwhile, the fallen demon Bathus is locked in a cage. He reflects on his 34 years as a demon, during which he tortured countless humans and led them to corruption, never imagining he would end up like this. At this moment, he suddenly notices a small robot approaching the cage. He tremblingly asks what Yaxbina is, while wondering how he could possibly corrupt a robot. Yaxbina says in a simple mechanical tone that it hopes he will provide information. Hearing this, Bathus bursts out laughing, saying there's no way he'd listen to such a small thing. But the moment he finishes, Yaxbina's mechanical voice rings out again. Prisoner of War number 14 is uncooperative, so it brings out a basin of clear water. This seemingly ordinary water is mixed with 15% angel's tears. To extract useful information, the robot Yaxbina directly pushes the little demon into the water. In just a few seconds, the little demon's skin turns bright red where it touches the water. Then the little demon angrily says he's a demon in charge of pleasure and corruption. But before he can finish, he's pushed back into the basin. After several rounds of this, even the knight standing behind feels it's somewhat cruel. The little demon keeps saying he doesn't know anything and asking what he's supposed to say. After another period of torment, the little demon finally provides over 30,000 words of information. The robot calculates that the previous 13 prisoners provided an average of over 39,000 words. It demands he provide another 9,000 words before stopping. Hearing this, the little demon immediately curses the robot as a lunatic. But when the robot says it will question the necessity of preserving the prisoner's life if the quota isn't met, the little demon's attitude immediately changes, and he starts providing information non-stop. Later, the robot returns to tell me that synthesizing information from 32 prisoners, 89% of the intelligence is consistent. This way, the authenticity of the information can almost be confirmed. But just as I'm savoring the red wine in my hand, listening to the delightful screams of those demons burning outside, my heart suddenly pounds violently. After standing up, I say I cannot tolerate demons living on the same land as myself, and I ask Yaxbina what should be done. Yaxbina says in its mechanical voice to eliminate them as soon as possible. Hearing this, I praise it as an excellent suggestion. Then without another word, I take Yaxbina and break through the window, preparing to begin a brutal night. As a demigod, I don't feel fatigue, and as a robot, Yaxbina is the same. Meanwhile, the Magic Tower Master arrives at the demon's mansion with the Wisdom Jewel. The demons see a human arriving and swarm around. Just as the demons are about to attack the Magic Tower Master, a bald demon comes out and tells them all to stop, and asks the Magic Tower Master who gave him the courage to intrude into his pleasure domain. The Magic Tower Master can feel the opponent's malice almost materializing. The Wisdom Jewel reminds him not to stare at the crown on the demon's head. This is Androgen, the greater demon in charge of pleasure and corruption. Androgen also recognizes that the one in the Wisdom Jewel is the Goblin. Then the Goblin says he has a proposal Androgen cannot refuse. After hearing this, Androgen is stunned for a moment. Then he laughs mockingly, calling the Goblin trash and telling him to recognize his own position. Your lord and most of the greater demons are dead. Do you think you're qualified to make proposals to me now? Hearing this, the Goblin retorts, didn't you also lose many? What are you so arrogant about? He adds that during the Great Descent 180 years ago, it wasn't just our lord who died, right? Your lord of pleasure was also eliminated, wasn't he? I know very clearly what happened in that world back then. 180 years ago, just to compete for one world, the 5 great demon races made an unprecedented alliance. However, the outcome was extremely brutal. It was a catastrophe where 3 demon lords and over 10 million ordinary demons were annihilated in one strike. The other surviving demons, seeing the situation turn bad, could only choose to flee, but that man appeared again ahead, blocking the demon's escape route. The demons saw this man as if seeing the Grim Reaper itself, all terrified out of their wits, and in that man's eyes was only infinite fury toward the demons. Before the demons could react, he wiped them all out with a single move, and this goblin was one of the survivors from back then. After hearing the goblin's account of the tragedy, Androgen tells him to explain what proposal he brought that he cannot refuse. The goblin asks if he's executing orders from a top-tier greater demon. Androgen says it's almost done. After all, she's just a doomed one. No matter how long she holds out, it's useless. She's not far from death now. Then the Magic Tower Master, following the goblin's instructions, arrives at a forest. He says according to this plan, the success rate will reach 70%. Hearing such a high success rate, the Magic Tower Master says if they add him, an S-rank mage, plus your intervention, wouldn't it be a guaranteed victory? But the goblin refuses. He once said he would not be in the same world as that monster. This makes the Magic Tower Master, who hasn't witnessed my power, curse inwardly that the goblin is a coward. After walking a bit more, they arrive at the forest near the royal city, planning to find the corpse collectors. The goblin says although these guys are lunatics, their attack power is strong. Just as he finishes speaking, they see something walking over from ahead. The goblin looks closely and sees it's indeed the corpse collector he's looking for. But looking again, he notices how disheveled this corpse collector is. Suddenly sensing something wrong, the goblin tells the Magic Tower Master to hide quickly. Just as he finishes, they see a laser whip lashing out from the distance. It goes straight for that corpse collector and binds its legs. This sudden scene nearly scares them to death. Not daring to hesitate, the Magic Tower Master hastily uses his invisibility skill. Watching that corpse collector being dragged away with a desperate look, the two don't dare say a word, holding each other and trembling in fear. Suddenly, they seem to hear my voice. Looking up, they find it really is me, and many corpse collectors are hanging from the trees behind me. Yaxbina says after analysis, this, there should still be surviving individuals. I say there really is a lot of trash here. After clearing for so long, there's still more. Watching me walk forward step by step, both their hearts jump to their throats. When I walk to within 1 meter of them, and suddenly stop, the magic tower master asks the goblin through mental communication why there was no sound along the way, yet a person suddenly appeared. The goblin tells him, this is the Holy Grail Knight's static holy law. Once this holy technique is deployed, even the sound of war horses galloping can be silenced. And under the cover of this secret technique, I slaughtered all the demons in the forest. But upon reaching here, I sense an unpleasant aura. Hearing my words, the magic tower master is too scared to move. Just as I'm about to use holy techniques to investigate further, Yaxbina calls out to me from behind. It tells me it has detected a new target, so I follow Yaxbina in the direction it indicates. Only after I'm long gone does the magic tower master collapse to the ground. After hunting down all the demons around the royal city, I return to my room to wash up. Recalling the hunting scene just now makes me feel very strange. Why are there so many lust demons in this portal? This trash that doesn't pursue true love, but instead craves extremely twisted lust is truly disgusting. Moreover, I encountered quite a few elite upper-class demons. Even greater demons appeared. All these signs puzzle me deeply. I can't figure out what's causing this. Before I finish thinking, I suddenly hear footsteps behind me. I turn back in shock toward the door, thinking this person has no aura whatsoever. After that person walks in, she says there seems to be a strong smell of blood here. You must be tired. Why aren't you resting so late? I turn around and discover it's Her Majesty the Queen of this country. Seeing me turn, she takes 2 more steps forward and says hello, and asks whether she should call me Knight or Your Majesty the Lionheart King. I don't answer but close my eyes instead. This woman is truly beautiful. Her mere existence can ignite lustful conflict, a beauty that could topple nations and can be seen as a precursor to corruption. If it were immortal, they surely wouldn't realize they'd already fallen into the abyss. After I finish dressing, the woman introduces herself as Alice Elias Spiro, Queen of this small kingdom. After speaking, she extends the back of her hand to me. I take her hand and kiss it, saying I am the Lionheart King of the Kingdom of Leonhart, Luendor Ragonia Leonhart. Alice says I am their kingdom's benefactor, and tells me not to be so guarded against her. She adds that she came specifically to thank me this time. I say that for a virtuous young lady like yourself to visit me at this hour doesn't seem quite appropriate. Hearing this, Alice's expression suddenly darkens. She shrinks back slightly and says she's been under surveillance. I'm shocked upon hearing this and ask who has such audacity to dare surveil the Queen. Alice says it's the Grand General and his knights. Not only have they been monitoring me, they've also imprisoned me. I think to myself that the Grand General doesn't seem like someone who would do such things. Before I finish thinking, she steps forward and grabs my hand, saying there's no time left and she has a favor to ask. I tell her to speak first, and I'll decide whether to help after hearing her out. Alice says she wants me to help her eliminate the Grand General and his knights, and says that if I'm willing to help her, she can give me everything in the kingdom, including herself. As she speaks, she takes another step toward me. Coming within 2 centimeters of me, she stands on her tiptoes. She whispers in my ear, telling me to go look at the underground of the royal city. There's something the Grand General has been hiding. Meanwhile, the Grand General has arrived at the corridor outside my door. After hearing the knock, Alice steps back 2 paces from my side. The Grand General first says outside the door that he's sorry to disturb me so late, then says he's going to open the door and come in. When he sees the scene inside the room, he's greatly shocked. Inside this room, apart from me, there's no one he was looking for. I ask him what kind of rude behavior this is, barging into a royal bedchamber wearing military boots without permission. The Grand General says he knows this is impolite, but the situation is urgent and he can't worry about that. Hearing this, I'm silent for a moment, then tell him I've already met Her Majesty the Queen. But when the Grand General hears this, he doesn't show much surprise. Seeing his reaction, I curiously ask him if he's not going to ask about the situation when his queen runs to a man's bedroom in the middle of the night. The Grand General says their queen often does this normally. With demons everywhere now, you dare let royalty walk around alone without guards. The demons won't attack at night. What utter nonsense. After saying this, I think to myself, since when do demon invasions distinguish between day and night? This Grand General can't be stupid enough not to know this. So I ask him if he seems very confident about this. Upon these words, the scene falls into silence. Finally, the Grand General apologizes to me and turns to leave. As he reaches the door, I say the Queen just told me that you imprisoned her. Hearing this, the Grand General stops in his tracks. Then he turns back and says sternly that this is not something I, an outsider, should know. After speaking, he slams the door and leaves without looking back. After seeing the abnormal behavior of both the Grand General and the Queen, I'm certain there's a huge secret hidden in this portal. If I want to learn the truth now, it seems I can only follow what the Queen said and go look underground at the royal city. Thinking of this, I summon Knight Yaxbina and have it help me confirm something. By early the next morning, countless demons have gathered outside the royal city again. They keep shouting all kinds of profanities as they charge toward the royal city. They also say they'll violate everyone inside the city. The demon squad leader says Lord Andrugen has ordered that whoever climbs over the city wall first will be rewarded with 100 slaves. Hearing this, the demons become even more excited. But the next second, some demons see what appears to be a point of light approaching them. Before they can react much, that point of light lands in the middle of the group of demons charging at the front. The surrounding demons look toward the center in shock. After the smoke clears, they discover it's a spear, and the demons caught in the blast have all been blown to pieces. Then the souls of those dead demons seem to be sucked out by something. They all fly uncontrollably toward the top of the city wall. Atop the city wall, I stand here. Their souls are ultimately collected into my holy grail, thus transforming into my holy power. The demons watching this scene are all dumbfounded. Then I step onto the city wall and curse them as trash who don't know life from death. Today, I, the Lionheart King, representing the Pantheon, will show you how precious a life you only get once truly is. As I speak, I draw my holy sword from dimensional storage. Then I continue addressing them. Come, you lowly things. Your nightmare awaits you here. My speech and aura have already frightened these demons so they don't dare take another step forward. In their eyes, I'm like a lion with its bloody jaws wide open. Meanwhile, the Grand General arrives alone at a certain place. The knight guarding here asks, isn't he supposed to be commanding the war? How does he have time to come here? The Grand General says that outsider will handle the war. Right now, the seal is most important. As he speaks, he leads two knights toward the depths of the cave, and Yaxbina also slips in from above the cave, following them. Upon reaching the end of the cave, the Grand General says if they just endure a bit longer, they can fulfill this century-old wish. After speaking, he lifts the curtain in front of him. Above, Yaxbina in its invisible state sees what's inside, and its eyes light up red. The scene now returns to the battlefield in front of the royal city. In just a short time, I end this war, and capture all the remaining demons. While escorting these demons, Gude Song sees one of them accidentally fall. Out of kindness, he turns back to help her up, but this demon puts on a pitiful appearance and asks Gude Song if he can spare her. Looking at this demon's appearance, Gude Song's face instantly turns red. Then this demon says if he can spare her, she can make Gude Song happy. Upon these words, Gude Song's heart starts pounding violently, just as his hand is about to touch this demon. My anti-corruption buff takes effect in time, allowing him to see the demon's true form. The next second, Gude Song's reaching fingers transform into a palm that slaps her mercilessly. This demon looks at Gude Song in disbelief, unable to understand what happened. She asks how Gude Song, just an ordinary human, could possibly resist her temptation. Learning this was a demon's trap, Gude Song breaks out in a cold sweat, having nearly fallen for it. After discovering the line has stopped, I also ride my warhorse over to check the reason. Walking over, I ask which fool wants to die causing trouble here. Upon these words, both the frightened demon and the guilty Gude Song's hearts skip a beat. Then Gude Song hesitates for only 0.1 seconds before pointing at the demon on the ground and saying it's her. I can see through this demon's tricks at a glance, and angrily ask her how she dares use this disgusting body to seduce my soldier. Before she can beg for mercy, my foot already kicks her face. Then it's a thorough beating. The other demons, watching me, think what a guy more demonic than demons themselves. After the battle ends, I lead the soldiers back to the royal city. On the way, Kim Jin-soo asks me if I don't find it strange. We clearly achieved victory, yet the citizens in the city seem lukewarm. I know the citizens have seen too many such wars. They believe the war with demons is endless, so I want to have the citizens personally hang the demons and kill them, letting them experience the pleasure of eliminating those filthy souls. Hearing my words, Kim Jin-soo's heart tightens. Then I say we won the battle, yet not a single person came out to welcome us. At this moment, red light flickers from a window in the castle. Looking closely, I find it's Yaxbina. The task I assigned it is complete. Then, led by Yaxbina, I arrive at a certain secret chamber in the royal city. The guards here see me and move to block me, saying we cannot enter. I don't waste words with them, directly kicking the stone door to pieces, while also kicking them away. After entering, there's a downward passage, and at the end of the passage, there seems to be a bed. It seems this is what the queen mentioned, the secret the Grand General has been hiding. Thinking of this, I ignore their warnings and stride forward to the bedside. Then, I directly lift the curtain. The people behind me see the person on the bed, and their faces instantly flush red. They didn't expect that in this dilapidated cave lies an absolutely stunning beauty. But after just looking at the queen on the bed for a moment, their minds start becoming hazy. Seeing this situation, I shout for them not to be confused by evil energy while releasing holy power, but they remain in this state. I see this charm spell is indeed formidable. Even my divine aura doesn't work. With no choice, I can only step forward and act, knocking them unconscious. However, when I get to Giant Castle, I stop my action and show a relieved smile. This guy actually used self-harm to keep himself conscious. Then I take out the Holy Grail and begin healing him. At this moment, the Grand General walks in with people and says, I'm truly powerful to be able to resist the Queen's temptation. Seeing the Grand General, I say it's just as I thought. I didn't expect you all are also unaffected by the Queen's temptation. The Grand General walks closer and says they're long used to it. Meanwhile, the two knights beside him draw their swords. Hearing this, I say what utter nonsense. The Queen possessing such charm shouldn't be innate, but rather a curse-like spell. You cannot possibly be used to it. I've encountered someone with this ability before. That was the Lord of Pleasure, who could seduce all living things. But strangely, I don't sense that being's aura from the Queen, and you're all safe and sound. As I speak, I take out a purple petal and throw it into the Holy Grail. I also begin chanting the incantation, Sacred God of Dreams and Death, your guardian seeks your grace. Fleur of the Pantheon, hearing my summons, says calmly, very well. Then, under everyone's astonished gaze, through my summoning ritual descends into this world. To protect their queen, the knights choose to commit mass suicide. It all begins when the kingdom teeters on the brink of destruction. A demon appears and strikes a deal with the queen. He plants an essence of corruption inside her body. This essence infinitely amplifies the desires in the queen's heart and makes her emanate a seductive evil aura. If she can resist corruption for 100 years, the demon will spare the kingdom's people. With the kingdom already on the verge of collapse, she has no choice but to accept. But one day, a knight fails to resist the temptation and breaks into the queen's chambers. From that moment, General Ricardo makes a fateful decision. He gathers the knights and tells them that the living cannot resist such temptation. So to protect the queen, they all sacrifice their lives. After their deaths, they use secret secret magic to transform themselves into death knights without desire. But one night, the queen comes alone to my room, saying the general and knights are imprisoning her, begging me to eliminate them. Following the clues, I find Queen Alice hidden in a secret chamber. I summon Fleur, the god of dreams and death. Fleur sees that this world is trapped in an endlessly repeating dream. Moreover, everyone has been fed corrupted consciousness by the demon, who feeds on it. So she uses her power to shatter the dream. The world returns to its true state. Only then do I realize that the general and his men are all death knights, not corrupted fallen ones consumed by evil. Then the illusions plaguing this world must be coming from the queen. I draw my holy sword and look at the queen on the bed. If I strike down the queen, the illusion will end. But at that moment, the general grips his sword, steps forward, and leaps into the air. My holy sword clashes with his, ringing out with a sharp, violent sound. Another death knight seizes the opportunity to charge from my flank. Just as his spear is about to pierce my body, I twist my wrist forcefully, deflecting both my sword and the general's blade onto the knight's spear. Looking at them, I ask if this is supposed to be a one-on-one duel. Do you intend to destroy the honor of knights? The general withdraws his sword, saying he abandoned such things as honor long ago. With that, a group of death knights charges toward me. Seeing this, I shout, do they think they can stop this king by ganging up on me? The next second, my aura surges dramatically. Before they reach me, I flash forward first. My attack is blocked by a death knight wielding a shield. Another death knight's sword swings down at me through the opening, but after blocking it, I reach out and grab his head. As I slam him to the ground, the other death knights surround me. After a few exchanges, I can feel that this general is quite strong. Before becoming undead, he must have been even more formidable, but with such twisted honor and arrogance, he cannot protect anything. The next second, I plunge my holy sword into the ground. Instantly, holy law spreads beneath each of their feet. Then I activate the skill, igniting the holy law and triggering a massive explosion. The general rises, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. He cannot believe I defeated his entire honor guard with a single move. I step forward and point my sword at him, telling him to wake from this endless dream. The general tries to say something but swallows his words. Just as I raise my sword to strike him down, something suddenly feels wrong. Though their loyalty is twisted, they are not cultists. So why does the queen want me to eliminate them? Thinking this, I turn to look at the queen on the bed again. Finally, I mutter, could it be that the queen is not the demon? Then I ask the general what they have done to the queen. At this point, the general has no choice but to reveal the deal the queen made with the demon. Under the demon's assault, the soldiers suffered devastating casualties. Even the queen had to take to the battlefield herself. Then a demon entered the palace, saying he wanted to make a deal with the queen. The demon said the queen must carry the essence of corruption and let the kingdom repeatedly fall for 100 years. If the queen does not succumb to corruption during this time, he will spare all the citizens. With the kingdom on the brink of annihilation, the queen has no choice. Even knowing it is a demon's trap, she can only reluctantly accept. Over 5 years, more and more people succumb to corruption, their minds shattered by endless pleasure and madness. By day, the queen watches demons slaughter her people. By night, the corrupted whisper in her ears. In the early years, she can barely hold on. But the opponent is a greater demon. His contract has no loopholes. Even if the queen wants to end her life to destroy the essence of corruption within her, she cannot. After 100 years, everyone in this world will become demons. The queen's mind slowly begins to crumble. Not only must she watch her kingdom gradually perish, but she must also endure the endless temptation of the essence of corruption within her. After 50 years of perseverance, a loyal knight fails to control his inner desires and breaks into the queen's chambers. General Ricardo kills him without hesitation, and at the same time makes a fateful decision. He gathers his honor guard and tells them that the living cannot resist such temptation. So in order to continue protecting the queen and uphold their loyalty, they choose to end their own lives and become undead without desire. Even if this path is filthy, even if they will become wandering spirits, even if they violate the 100-year pact with the demon and become corrupted devils, they will protect their queen. As undead, they can easily resist the queen's seductive aura. Then they seal the queen away. But starting from the 80th year of the seal, they can only keep the queen's consciousness asleep for half a day. Hearing his account, I think to myself that such unbreakable loyalty still exists in this world. Now I understand why the queen wanted me to eliminate them. At that moment, Fleur calls out to me, asking if I sense that presence. I turn back and indeed feel a trace of evil energy. Following the source of the evil energy, I extend my senses outward. I discover it is coming from outside the city. It is emanating from a greater demon, and he has brought many elite demons with him. Sensing them, my eyes become resolute once more. I shout to those around me, "Rise up, my soldiers!" This shout startles the two on the ground awake. Without much explanation, I grab them and head outside. After we leave, Fleur does not return to the Pantheon but asks the general on the ground if they should continue their unfinished conversation. When I come out, a soldier reports that the demons have already scaled the city walls. Looking at the demons swarming in like a tidal wave, Kim Jin-soo breaks into a cold sweat. He did not expect their numbers to be so overwhelming, but I remain calm. Squad leader Gudai Song steps forward and orders the warriors to raise their shields. He vividly remembers what I once told him. As long as they raise their shields and hold their positions, I will handle the rest. Soon the warriors form up according to their usual drills. Andrusian sees this and merely smiles faintly. Then he orders his demons to attack. At the same time, he casts a buff called light saturation that lets these demons convert pain into pleasure. Feeling the power, the demons charge toward us without hesitation. I also give Yaxbina the order to annihilate all enemies. Free fire. At the same time, I summon my warhorse Stanley. The next second, Yaxbina and I attack tens of thousands of demons from the flanks. The warriors in the center grip their shields tightly. No matter how ferocious vicious the demons before them, they do not retreat a single step. Soon, they witness a scene that makes their blood run cold. The demons are so numerous that they pile up on me like a mountain. But the next second, a golden light bursts forth. I shout, "Bring it on, you trash!" These pleasure demons are strong only because of their endless numbers. Combined with their buff, even I find them somewhat troublesome. Thousands upon thousands of demons still stand before me, and I lack the blessing of gods and faith. I cannot help but ask myself, can I really do this? But in just 2.5 milliseconds, confidence returns to my face. I am the Lionheart King, the agent of the gods, so I must do this. Just as I am about to order a full assault, suddenly, everyone hears the sound of hooves from behind the formation. Turning around, they see the general and his Death Knights. After charging out the city gate, they immediately split into 2 groups and circle around my warriors. Then they charge at the surrounding demons. The general then comes to my side, dismounts, and calls out, "Lionheart King!" Seeing him like this, I say, "It seems you have finally awakened." He says to me, "O King, we have experienced countless failures, but if you can change the tide of battle, then we are willing to bet on this one last time." Hearing this, I smile faintly. Then I draw my sword, step forward, and say, "Today I will show you just how right you were to choose this king. Once I was the hope of all beings in another world. Now, here, I am the hope of these soldiers and Death Knights." As I walk toward the demons, I chant, "O sacred god of war and flame, grant me your power." With that, scorching flames erupt around my body. My aura surges dramatically. After Pethos, the god of war and flame, descends, he says I am such a fool. Just fleeting sparks. Without you, they will perish sooner or later. After hearing this, I raise my sword and say, "Then I will keep standing before them until they can stand on their own." Seeing the flames surrounding me, the demons feel fear deep in their bones. The next second, I plunge my sword into the ground and activate my buffs. The Death Knights receive the buff's effects, their flames turning from blue to red. Then, under the demons' terrified gaze, I summon a chariot pulled by 2 golden bulls. I send the injured warhorse back to dimensional storage to rest. After retrieving my sword, I draw my spear from dimensional storage. At my command, the 2 golden bulls' muscles surge with power as they charge forward, pulling the chariot. The general sees me charging at the vanguard alone and wants to stop me, but in the blink of an eye, I have already charged dozens of meters ahead. Seeing this, the demons raise their weapons to meet me. Their refusal to flee surprises me slightly. I immediately berate them. These foolish trash, do they not understand what cavalry represents? With that, I activate Supreme Charge. Before the 2 golden bulls, those demons are like sheets of paper. Instantly, dozens of demons are sent flying into the air. This makes the general behind me break into a cold sweat. He did not expect me to break through the demons' front line before even attacking. Androgen is equally shocked. In that moment of hesitation, I charge forward dozens of meters more. Androgen cannot believe his demon army is so pathetically weak before me, so he hastily orders his subordinates to fire magic cannons. The demons receive the order and pull out their cannons to fire. In an instant, countless magic projectiles soar into the air toward me. Seeing this, I roar. They dare use such despicable ranged weapons. How shameful. As these projectiles fall, my ranged attack immunity buff activates, making both me and my troops completely immune to ranged attacks. After the explosion, not even a speck of dust touches me. I shout, "Glory of Leonhardt!" I apply my supreme charge buff to the soldiers behind me, greatly boosting their attack power while reducing the defense of all demons within a kilometer radius. Then I continue charging through the demon horde with my spear. Unable to watch any longer, Androgen finally loses his patience, draws his weapon, and leaps above me. Without giving me time to react, he slashes directly at the chariot. The golden bulls become furious after being attacked. They rise and gore directly at Androgen's leg, but he has no time to retaliate because he realizes I am not on the chariot at all. Looking up again, he finds I have already vaulted above him. Fortunately, his reflexes are quick enough to dodge the spear I throw. Androgen dares not engage me further and quickly retreats while ordering his demons to attack. I land, pick up my spear, and draw my sword. The Death Knights now join the battle. Initially, Androgen does not pay them much attention because in previous encounters, those knights showed mediocre strength, but soon he realizes something is wrong. These fallen knights seem much stronger now. With no choice, after a brief respite, he advances again. He asks if I'm the one who killed Lord Dotradon. Hearing that name, I pause to think. Then I grin fiercely and ask if he means that fat piece of trash, the Lust Demon. I tell him that scum was torn to pieces by me, and now you trash will share his fate, though this time I will tear you into even more pieces. Hearing this, Androgen's veins bulge instantly in rage. The next second, powerful magic erupts around him, enveloping his weapons. Then he hurls them all at me. Seeing this, I ask him why he throws blades not with his own strength but with magic. That is why you fools are so stupid. With that, I grip my spear tightly and thrust with force. I hurl my spear directly at Androgen once more. His magic-enhanced cleavers are all deflected the moment they touch my spear. The speed is too great for Androgen to dodge. He can only twist his body to avoid having his head blown off by my spear. This causes one of his arms to be severed by the spear. Before he can recover, I am already before him with sword in hand. But at this, he reveals a sinister smile. Just as I am about to swing my sword down, his crown suddenly flashes with pink light. The Death Knights, who have witnessed the crown's power before, hastily warn me of the danger, but I still charge straight into that pink light. As my sword strikes Androgen, he asks in shock how I escaped the illusion of desire he created. I say even your Lord of Pleasure could not tempt this king. Do you think a small piece of trash like you can? Only then does true fear appear on Androgen's face. He thinks something must be wrong. Normally, any living being must have desires, but he knows now is not the time to think about this. Just as he turns to flee, the golden bulls behind him gore him back. I step forward and plant my foot on him. Androgen hastily invokes knightly honor to threaten me, saying, "Do knights not hold honor as their creed? Then why did I let divine beasts join the duel?" I think for a moment. Indeed, in a one-on-one duel, a third party's interference does damage knightly honor. Androgen on the ground thinks he is saved, but I suddenly change my tone, saying, "When dealing with you trash, such things do not matter, because this is not a battle, it is pest control." Hearing this, Androgen curses me as a damned discriminator. The next second, my sword falls. Androgen, the greater demon of pleasure and corruption, is no more. This kingdom once enjoyed 1,000 years of peace and prosperity. The queen and her subjects believed this prosperity would last forever, until the dimensional rift opened and demons invaded. As queen, she was also a powerful mage. With her powerful magic, she repelled wave after wave of attacks. At first, victory after victory gave people hope, but it was only temporary. The queen soon discovered these demons could not be killed. Only then did she understand this war was unwinnable from the start. No matter how many victories she won or demons she eliminated, everything would return to square one. Gradually, the queen felt annihilation drawing closer, until a demon appeared, demanding the queen endure 100 years with the essence of corruption. In exchange, he would stop invading this world. The queen knew she had no choice. She could only accept the demon's terms. Even knowing it was a cunning trap, she had to accept, because only this way could she protect those she loved. And so, the kingdom began its endless cycle of pleasure and corruption. The once wise citizens and loyal knights, and the brilliant proud queen, all began to be consumed by evil bit by bit. Once corrupted, once they stood on the side of evil, there was no return. Finally, after a knight could not control his desire and broke into the queen's chambers, the general had no choice but to seal the queen underground, and they chose to end their lives, becoming death knights to guard the queen. Every day the queen hoped to escape this nightmare one day sooner. After the battle ends, I return to the underground chamber where the queen is sealed. Yaxpina brings back Androgen's crown and weapons. I ask if he likes such things. Yaxpina says it is high-strength metal material, very useful. I look at it and say, but this has been corrupted by evil. It feels like many souls are imprisoned within. Yaxpina says he can handle it. At that moment, Fleur, the god of dreams and death, calls out to me. He says he wants to see that crown. Picking up the crown, Fleur examines it first. Then he asks me if I remember eliminating a greater demon before who also had such a crown. Those filthy lust demons use illusory dreams to seduce children. But perhaps he can gain something from this. I was going to destroy this evil object anyway, so I give it directly to Fleur.